Peace and blessings, family.
Hola.
Peace, y'all. Hola, ¿cómo está? Bien, all that good things. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Yes, y'all,
Yeah.
it's your girl Dana Maisha, and we have our queen here, Juanita Butler.
Good morning.
And
And Ever
Mama
raised
here.
up too while you playing.
Okay,
Let me
okay.
even myself out a little bit.
Okay.
We got even
But you
faces
look good.
here.
That black make everybody look good.
Oh,
You
okay,
don't have to worry about it. You got it, girl. Please.
And we got Earth Mama Healing Network
Please, fam,
herself.
please. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Okay.
First of all, how y'all week been?
Busy. Busy. I had my car, a water pump fell out. I don't know what happened.
Fell out.
In my car. No, I'm joking. I'm like, it started leaking. And so I've been in my mama car all week running around.
He said something. I've been in my mama's car.
It's been in my mama car. And she got a different type of car. So, you have to, people look at you different. When I go to the bank or I'm going to work and stuff, and like, they like, oh, who is this young black girl in this? It's because it's a luxury car. So they looking at me like, oh, now y'all like, huh?
No, but that makes sense.
They looking at me like, what she do? I ain't selling ass, y'all. I ain't doing like, I'm like, well, I don't want to talk to y'all.
That ain't your old man's car.
No, that's not my old man. They be like, oh, that's a nice car. You drive around with the drop? No, I don't. This is my mama's car. I don't touch nothing. I put gas in it. I go slow over speed bumps. And I go about my day. Like, there's nothing fancy happening with this car. No, sir.
That's funny that you say that. My daughter had an accident yesterday.
Oh, no.
Yeah, in Atlanta. They're safe. See, that was the first thing I asked her. Are you in love okay? She tripping on her car, and her car is a luxury car. So she was like, I'm so mad because my car is messed up, and and all these different things. And it dawned on me. I'm like, she tripping on the car. But she does have a nice car, but I really feel like when you drive a certain type of car, you maybe feel different, and people do look at you
They
different.
do.
I used to have a Chrysler 300, y'all. It was old, but it was nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they make those nice cars, y'all. I felt different. I sat in the car different. Now I got a little Jeep, so it's just regular. But I get it.
No, absolutely. I went to the bank yesterday, right before they closed, and I had to run in and get some money to move some money around and woo. And they was just about to close, and I feel like they was gonna close the door. I don't know. It could be me in my own head, but I felt like they seen me pull up in this car, and they was like, "Oh, let's not close the door on her." She looked like the type to complain. Like, you know what I mean? Like, y'all still had 3 minutes. And I needed to handle my business. I was dressed a little nice yesterday too, so maybe I really feel like they was like, "Oh,
so
keep
funny.
the door open," because they went. You know how people be? It be 4:57, and they like, "We close."
Yeah.
We're not having nobody come back
That's
in,
real
even
talk.
though y'all closing at 5. But you know what I'm saying? And she was at the door and was like, well, "Come on in," and I was like, "Oh, okay, let me, come through the door."
You get the pluses
Or maybe
like
it was
that.
almost 4 o'clock. I think they closed at 4 rather than 5. It was
Wow.
Saturday yesterday, but still.
Well, a lot of awesome stuff is always happening. I know yesterday was the African market. Yes, there was a lot of stuff going on. They had a debutante ball with the AKAs, I think, because I seen Essence there with her daughter. They look so pretty. I think all that stuff is so awesome. And then they had the exceptional women of color had their thing yesterday.
Yeah, that
Their
was
conferences.
nice.
It's like a lot of stuff going on. I think that is so awesome. So big ups to all these events, because I think that's also a part
Shout
of
out
culture.
to the Debs. I was a Deb 2007.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. I've been
what is
watching
that like?
Deb
What is that like?
And what's the difference between being there and then being presented?
Okay.
Because I'm sorry.
No,
No,
that's
that's fine.
good.
Oh, hold on. Let me start my life part.
Okay, so we're talking about culture. That's what she get ready to, because
Yes.
that's a part of some of our culture to do that.
Let me start this watch party.
'Cause I think
Okay,
that's
boom. So
awesome.
we good now too. My bad, y'all.
Okay, no worries.
So since I was what y'all say? Then what's
Knee-high to a
knee high? I was gonna say it wrong. That's why I didn't say it. Knee high to a grasshopper. Knee high to a grape. Whatever you want to say. I have been groomed, and this gonna be you one day. This gonna, you know what I mean? And like it was very, very impressionable on me. You know, seeing all these black people in this room, black excellence from age 5 probably. And then me, my mom, and my sister. First it was just me and my mom, and then my sister would come, and she got older, obviously. And we have pictures, like, my mom used to do the most. We would go to, I don't even know if this is, anyways, she would have custom dresses. We would go, all get measured for the dress. Like, I mean, months before. the debutante. You know what I mean? Because you got to meet with the seamstress, you got to get the fabric.
Right.
My mom, whatever vision she had for us that year, or whatever, maybe matching with the theme
year.
of the, because every year is a different theme for the debutante. And there's one picture that I'm thinking about specifically. We all had our silver dresses with our little bolero jackets over, and we, like, all three of us were matching and everything. But so attending it, you get to sit there, you come in, there's music, there's food, socialization, networking, people that you maybe don't see regular, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's kind of like a family, like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, but it's not Thanksgiving. Like, you know what I mean? You just see them every so often or at different events. And you sit and you watch and you enjoy the food, and they introduce, you know, this young lady and how old she is and what school she's graduating from and the GPA that she's maintained and what university she plans to attend to and what her aspirations are and what she plans to major in. And so you get to just watch it all, right? And it always is sponsored by AKAs. And
oh, that's a little gang sign.
That's
their.
I was getting ready to go like that. I didn't hear
I'm
sorry.
I wanted to be a Delta.
I was trying to like get the name right. Sorry.
Yeah, no, quiet as
hiding your hand.
I wanted to be. Shout out to Mimi. You know, I wanted to be a Delta, but my mama told me that I couldn't. But that's a whole other story.
I think most of the women on my dad's side of the family are Deltas. They're red, right?
Yeah, red and white.
Yeah, red and white.
Get them colors right.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
Sister
Hey,
Shamalia
Dre, thank you for watching.
Sister Shamalia is she's the, I don't know if she still is, but she was the international coordinator for the Deltas, like, worldwide. So every year on the road trip, we would stop at their headquarters in DC, which they have a street name from. It's like 3 houses in the one. It's so awesome. Oh my God. So yeah, I just think that's just so awesome. I just love tradition. So anything that helps to usher you into something, and if you don't want to do it,
I mean, I think there's positives and I think that there's negatives.
You thinking about this movie with Sanaa Lathan when she was a girl? I don't believe it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Natalie
I don't believe the hype.
No.
And Tati Henson was like, I'll give him a bunch of ashy babies.
You just said, you know the woman she was dating the white boy.
Something new.
Something new. You see? Remember she was drunk in the bathroom and said, "Don't believe it." Now, like, I get what you're saying. It is plus and minus. But I think sometimes in the world we live in, there are so many young people who need to have a direction. If they choose to change it, it's okay. But it's like believing in something till you feel like you know what you really believe in. It's kind of like a start.
No, I absolutely agree. It's definitely a sense of togetherness and collectiveness and feeling like you belong somewhere, you know? And especially when the world is, because you're seeing all these black people in their excellence, right? Yeah. And then in the media, we see thugs and gangbangers and this and, oh, I gotta have my booty out, or you know what I mean? Or I gotta be doing this. So it's definitely good to have that other view of it. But then you do come across the people who, like how we talked about before, we this type of black, we not that type of black. So then there's that sort of really class difference is really what it is, because it costs. You wear a wedding dress as a debutante. Like, I remember, okay, so that's what you asked me, how it was to view it and then how it was to be in it, right? Because my mom is not an active AKA member, but my cousin Terry is, shout out to Terry Speed, she sponsored me in order to be that, me and my sister. And I was in the debutante ball sponsored by the Deltas. Yeah, Dre. Yeah, exactly. So before I became a debutante, I was an escort, right? But you were an escort for the botillion.
Okay.
The debutante is for the ladies, and then the botillion is for the gentlemen.
Gotcha.
So I was first at 16, 17. I was an escort for the botillion, which is, I think, was sponsored by Jack and Jill.
Okay.
And then there was a lot of members who, you know, involved themselves in that. So, and it's the same thing. You introduce the guys and where they're going to school and what they plan to do and, you know, highlighting them. And then a lot of the girls who were debutantes, a lot of the girls who were escorts at that time, we then became debutantes the following year. And then, and you know, who I choose to have as my escort, that person has to be of a certain caliber. The same way for as a beau, me to be an escort, I had to be of a certain caliber.
Yeah.
And I had to have things going on just to walk next to this boy.
Yeah.
And it's no different from as a debutante, they have to come and they have to be in tuxes and they have to learn the walks and you have to learn your forks and there's there's workshops, there's lots of things that go in prior to. Prior to that big day, and it's very exciting, you know. And like I remember going to look for my wedding dress. And my mom was like, this is not your wedding. Like this. I was like, I want this $2,000 dress. And she was like, we're going to find like a $400 Dave's and Bridal type of dress. Like, because, you know, you have to get it altered and everything gets more expensive once you label it wedding. More people, oh, you want a wedding cake, it's more expensive. Oh, you want alterations for your wedding dress, it's more expensive than just a regular dress, like, you know. So, but anyways, more of the story is it's very fun, it's exciting, but it definitely is for a certain social economic class group of people. It's definitely a privileged position to be in, but it's something that I always appreciated. Hey Jamie, hey Rachel, hey Lamar. Oh, look at all my family tuning in today. But yeah, no, I'm sad that I missed it. Normally I'm in the loop with that. I guess I'm getting old for one, but two, it was my niece homecoming. It was Kennedy High School's homecoming last night. So my niece is a freshman and she went, and so, you know, we were there to make sure she got dressed and got her hair together and everything. So it was exciting too. Yeah, exactly. That's why I wasn't, you know, I was like, oh, I guess I just didn't care about this year because what she was doing in high school, but I can't believe it. But yeah.
Wow. Well, speaking of young people accomplishing things, our dear sister, the tennis star Coco, basically won her first tennis championship. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
She's 15.
15. Making history. She broke the record. She's the first one to break the record in like how many years?
Oh, I don't know.
I forget. I remember seeing it, looking at it online though, and I remember they had made an article honoring her and what she's been doing.
Well, you know what she made me think of? I posted the I don't know if y'all remember.
Hey Taylor, that was one of my escorts.
Oh.
She was Taylor. Yes, girl. Taylor was an escort and she was a debutante with me.
That's
you
beautiful.
have bonds forever. Honestly, forever. So like I said, it's a certain level of unity and collectiveness and knowing certain people in, like, I still follow my Deb friends like online, Instagram. They got their master's degrees. One of them are getting married, and I'm going to NOLA in January. She's getting married. She is a counselor at Texas State University, I want to say.
I just think that's awesome.
So yeah, no, it is. It's an opportunity. It's yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's what sororities and fraternities are supposed to be about. You know, seeing us in different spaces and being comfortable with one another. Because again, you do have, because you know how people talk about private school kids, and they, you know, they have this like prestige and facade a little bit, and then you go to certain parties and stuff, and they wild.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
but they still living, you know.
You still living, and I feel like that's just, it gives us that space, like how we were talking about before, not really having that space all the time because, you know, white people might see you a certain way, or black people like, oh, you privileged because you got certain, you know, again, a certain
got nice shoes
or whatever. But it's like you get with other people who don't have that same economic struggle as you, and you still get to just be cool and have fun, and so it's rewarding, definitely rewarding.
So with the dear sister who won her first title, she made me think of, it's like her, you know, we have the gymnast, but I don't know if y'all remember the ice skating sister from Paris that was really from Africa. She was adopted by, I think, a French family. Who could backflip on skates.
Oh, this was a while ago.
Yeah,
she like started the flipping.
Yeah, and she could flip and land on one leg, but the men had to land on two. They could never land on one. She do like a backflip.
It was this lady.
I can't remember her name. I can't remember her name either. I think about these dominant ass black women, but they also cheated her out of medal because they said that every skater couldn't do that. I said, don't that make you think of Simone?
Yeah. I remember reading an article that talked about how she was basically discriminated against because she brought a form of gymnastics to skating. Yeah. And now we see it all the time. It's so normal that you got to flip and spin and jump.
Now they do it.
But when she first did it, you know.
She was bomb though. She was.
Well, we got to slow down so we can catch up. Like, you know,
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Because she did like incredible. But that flip was incredible. Oh my God.
Hey,
so, it's nice to see that this sister. I just want to say congratulations. I remember when she lost to somebody, she was a bit upset.
Yeah, they calling her the lucky loser. So I was trying to figure out what that was about.
Like, y'all quit hating on her. Act like she's a little white girl with blonde hair and be like, it's okay, baby. Come back next time. You have to kind of teach her like, oh, this is when you're supposed to do this. It reminded me of that scene in Django when the guy said, you want me to treat him like white people? He said, that's not what I said. You remember that scene? He said, treat him like another little white boy, trashy white boy. Treat him like that. You know, it's just
I remember. No, I remember.
That's not what I said. I really said that's not what I said. So congratulations to her.
Yes.
On another front, the dear sister another front, her father, they basically have chosen to. I don't know if all my postings came up. I hate when this thing does this.
What story you talking about?
The father basically canceled the funeral. Here it is, right here. Funeral for, I think it's the guy Jefferson that got shot by the police in her home. I guess they canceled her funeral due to the dad. You see that? You'll see her face on there.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it.
He decided to funeral for Jefferson canceled after father's legal action. So I don't know exactly what he did with the legal action, but they canceled the funeral. What did y'all feel about that? Like, the guy did quit, and he is up on charges. So that's a little different.
The officer quit?
Yeah, he quit his job.
Oh, see, I've been so busy with homecoming. Hold on, wait a minute.
His job.
He
quit.
So
he quit his job, and so
that's a shocker.
Yeah, but I also
maybe
recognize.
he had a conscience.
I don't know.
Well, that's a shocker.
I just
you right. Both things do. Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm grateful, because usually when black women something like that happen to us, you don't get much traction from black folks. Like we probably said her name 2 or 3 times, and that was it. But if it had been a black man, let's just be honest, y'all. We know that that's a damn shame. Even in death, you still got to deal with.
But discrimination. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the man who was shot in his home by the white lady who just had the whole judge and all that, wasn't that also in Texas?
Was that one?
No, I've seen it.
Okay.
Wasn't that also in Texas?
Yeah.
So I think that's why this one.
Well, the guy quit.
It's almost it caught fire real quick, because here's Texas again being under attack. You get what I'm saying?
No, I get that. But it didn't stay for long, though. People talk about it, boop, there's on to the next one.
Well, this was the next
and
one.
We see that it's a pattern. Even when any black woman gets killed, whatever, we talk about police brutality, we pull out all the men's cases, but hell, they pistol whooped the black woman, and dude tried to turn his cam off, but the shit didn't go off. So they got him pistol whooping the woman, but you don't hear nothing about that?
I sure did not.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, so I just feel like we gotta give ourselves some
I think
justice
that
and being
situation
honest
is
about
so
it's wrong,
sad.
No, it don't bring the woman back.
Of course not. It doesn't bring the trauma from her nephew.
Right.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, that broke my heart.
Do you think sometimes we politicize Black death and help it to make it be normal a little bit when people die like this?
What do you mean make it to be normal?
Well, it feels like it's because I see a couple
questions.
articles that talked about normalizing Black death. And so, like, even the way we normalize white people who call the police on people, we call them Petty Patty and Barbecue Becky. And so when you do stuff like that, they're saying this is psychological stuff, that it's kind of like normalizing it. We kind of turn it into like a joke, or we make it so normal that we're like, oh, another nigga got shot next. Like, we don't be like, like that doesn't stay with us because it wears off. That's what they were saying in the article. I don't know what y'all thoughts on it.
I think that there's...
Good morning, LaDonna.
I think that there could be some truth to that, absolutely. But I think that it all depends on people's perspective. Right. Because the same, as we all know, we could all look at one situation, and you, me, and her all have a different view of what happened and how it affected us or its dynamics or whatnot.
Absolutely.
So I think that, one, the efforts and the intentions, I hope at least, that the intentions are to make it clear that this is really happening. Because people don't, well, give me an example. When did this happen? Like when you're trying to explain covert racism and how certain systems are operating and like what we're up against, and people don't see it. Mm-hmm. It's not overt the way it used to be. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that the intention, again, at least I hope that the intentions are to show evidence that we're not making these things up, that these are things that we are really experiencing. Same time, though, I think it can be very traumatic to constantly keep having a reminder that this is happening to this day in 2019, in 1950, in 1850. You know what I mean? Like, it's still happening. And then there is a sense of hopelessness or helplessness that reside in that space. Right. So I think that it depends on how you look at it, but I don't know. I think that it could be possible.
Peace, Danielle.
Peace.
What about you? What you think?
So, I still think racism is very, I think it is very overt. But again, I get what you're saying. I guess there's not people walking around in chains and stuff like that. But I think racism is still very overt. And I also think that maybe we do normalize Black death, and I think we even do it subconsciously within our own self. And I'm gonna talk about me.
I know what you said. I'm gonna talk about me.
No, I like to tell the truth.
No, it's just the way you said it made me laugh.
And this might not be popular, and it might sound insensitive, but those of you who know me, y'all know that I'm the opposite of that. But I think that Black death is kind of normalized, especially like black on black murder. Okay, and so when I say that, I grew up in Hunters Point in the 80s, and there was a lot of death. It was a lot of death. And I noticed that we respond differently when the police kill a black man than we do a black man killing another black man. And I'm not going to say that I feel like it's normal, it's the order of the day, we're okay with it. That's not what I'm saying but I think that as a coping mechanism for our trauma, I think we kind of did some kind of like, at least kind of like a little bit being immune to it a little bit. Do you get what I'm saying?
I agree. I'm gonna give you the best example I learned in Boys in the Hood. I remember in Boys in the Hood when they were walking home and the dude said, "You want to see a dead body?" And then Trey wasn't used to that. Yeah, Trey wasn't used to that. But the other boys that they had lived in South Central,
he threw up.
Yeah, he said, "Man," and the dude was like, "That's a dead body." They was like, "Punk, like so what?" Like, and so to me, that's like they've been desensitized to death, where he wasn't. So he was like, "Oh my God!"
I think
like,
he started throwing up.
I think he threw up because he wasn't used to seeing a dead body. So I think, LaDonna is saying she agree with you. I think sometimes, like, even if something is not necessarily my experience, I think because I am bothered when black people kill each other and then we try to lessen it.
Yeah.
And act like, well, he had problems, but the person is still dead and you still have to pay for what you've done. And I feel like sometimes we do that, but then when it comes to, I just think white people add value to death for black people. That's what has been shown for me the last couple of years. If a white person don't kill you, black folks ain't gonna say shit. But if another black person kill you, it'd be like, because it may be your son or your daughter. I'm amazed at how mothers defend their children's bad actions and then be like, it's like, dude, I'm from the time when if you did shit, your mom will turn your ass in. I'm from that era. Because it's like, no, I didn't raise my son to be a killer. I'm even shocked that my son did some shit like that. So it's just a different time, Dana. That's what I think. I think it's a different time because responsibility and accountability is not something that's riding on some. And notice I say some. I do think we have a general black population that get led around because when people lead you, you have to want to be led. Yeah. Then there's someone's like, I'm not going to be running that way with y'all because I don't even know what the hell's over there.
No.
You're not going to be running to somebody shooting. But I think that we have some black people,
right, yeah.
And then we have like sometimes, because sometimes even when you have a difference of opinion with black people who want you to believe this narrative, like say about the police, and I'll be like, but dude, like I met 9 police officers at Grant, black women. I've never seen any black women be officers. I mean, I've never seen them on the beat. I've seen women, but I've rarely seen any black women in Sacramento. But we'll have this narrative that all the police are bad, but when people get in trouble, who the fuck is you calling? So it's kind of like I don't ever get to hear us.
That's a whole conversation.
No, really, because I see a lot of like, oh, police are bad. Not everybody, but police is bad. But go ahead.
Because we can't rule ourselves.
Yeah. Well, that's why I know we can't govern ourselves.
Right. We talk about black power,
but
we don't really. I mean, it sounds good. Yeah.
All the shit sounded good in 1968. Well, I can say, hey, Sister Keisha.
I got a lot of folks tuning in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
Peace, family.
Yeah, no, I'm not with y'all. I'm not.
Say what you're not with us about.
I'm not with nothing y'all just said.
Okay, but here's my thing. You cannot be with it, but could you explain it?
No, I am.
Okay,
I am.
Great.
So,
you was just.
I was just premising that.
Okay.
She was making an announcement.
An agreement and nothing that y'all.
Okay.
See, there they go. Juanita, your face. I'm sorry, because I'm sitting here like.
That's okay.
You was looking at us crazy.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about the people that was killed in
Greg got
in
me.
the 80s.
Okay,
right on, Lakeisha. She said community policing is our own superpower. But yeah, this sister from Chicago, and you got some progressive black people in Chicago.
Yeah.
I love rolling up there with y'all. Y'all got issues like every other city, but these y'all will step up and not be so quick to be like, I don't know. It's like, what's the plan? Because I'm an East Coast, so I want to know the plan. How we going to solve this shit? But that's just me.
Okay, so rewinding back to the black on black crime.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like that's not a real term. I don't know if
for you. If you could just say for
no,
yourself.
but I said I.
Okay, I'm
feel,
sorry.
I feel
sorry,
like
sis. I'm
she
sorry.
feels she Listen, Ro, I said a preference that this was not in agreement in what you felt like.
I got you.
Okay, so I, Juanita in Butler.
Right on.
Okay,
right on.
I personally feel like that's not a real that's not a real term. Black on black crime is not a real term, and the reason is because if however you look at it, wherever people live, majority of people live around other people who look like them. If you white, you're around mostly white people who look like you. If you're Mexican, you live in what they call an enclave. It's different neighborhoods that typically look like you. It's not just socioeconomics. It's genuinely people who look like you. The crimes that you commit are going to be against people who are within your vicinity to commit these crimes.
I'm not disputing that, but that wasn't our conversation.
So when we say black on black crime, who else are we going to commit these crimes to? And those are the people who. But these are the people in our environments. If my neighborhood is impacted with black people, am I going to go to a different city to commit a crime? It just doesn't. And any demographic that you look at, everyone commits those crimes against their own people. So when we have this black on black crime, and well, we don't talk about that because when John killed Day Day, John get the book thrown at him.
Who is John?
Okay,
I'm just saying as
black people. As black people.
I don't just live around white people, though. But I mean black people either.
But what I'm saying is
but when I say who is John, John is a white guy.
No. Maybe I should use a hypothetical. Hypothetically, if you have young black boy A who kills young black boy B, okay, young black boy A is getting the book thrown at him. He getting life. He's not getting no sympathy.
But we're not as alarmed.
No. But what I'm saying is that. But you're saying that we're not alarmed that black boy A killed black boy B?
We're not.
You're saying that we don't care?
I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm saying we are not alarmed. We don't hit the street.
But what would we be?
We don't hold press conference.
No, but my question.
We don't try to we don't do an intervention, a massive intervention. We're not there with I'm sorry.
So no. I'm just clarifying what you're saying. What you're saying is what we do not do is come together as a collective to end crimes that are happening within our own group.
Self-policing.
So that's what you're
self-governance.
Okay, but with that being said, you're also then saying, so then if someone else not within our group comes in and hurts one of us, we don't have the right to say that y'all not allowed to do that?
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I'm asking a question.
No. What I'm saying is we don't do it at the same level. We don't do it at the same level. If a white cop, because it seems that we have a fascination with white people, but in particular white officers will be upset. We'll be real upset. But when that same violence happens inside of black communities, we don't be as livid as the white officer. That's all I'm saying. And Sister Lakeisha is saying, she's saying she agreed with you, speak young sister, she agreed with you, but she also said, at the same time, black people who harm our community is an enemy to our community and should be held accountable. But it takes us to make them hold accountable. Like that no snitching thing. I really don't get no snitching. I grew up in South Sac, so we didn't just have black people in our neighborhood. We had Latinos, we have Arab people, we had
Filipino,
everybody.
My neighborhood
but when the crime would be happening in the midst of all of us living in that community, it would always be another black man shooting another black man. So it's other people in the community, just ain't us. But somehow we get to shoot each other up, and there's no accountability. And all I was saying is, and I hear everything you're saying.
I think her point is valid, but it
doesn't correlate what we. I'm just saying I don't see the same outrage.
What I was trying to understand is what the expectation is, because I feel like the approach is very different. If I have
the approach different,
because again, if we look at it in a smaller and not in a macro level, right, to make it more easier to retain and understand. If I think about it as a family, right, my family and my household, and what we do in my family, it might not be right. We might have some violence and whoopings and I slapped you in the face or popped you in the mouth or whatever. But let somebody else pop my child in the mouth. I'm going to have a problem with that. I don't care. It's not for you to come to me and tell me what I can do within my group and my community, my collective. This is something that maybe we should work through. Maybe we should analyze and move past and look and see how do we improve how we treat one another. But that does not give y'all the right to come over here and be like, well, this is what y'all do. I'm going to just do what y'all do to each other. Nah, that's not the same thing.
I understand what you're saying and I'm gonna put you, and I hate to have to do this, but I'm gonna put that into that's what y'all do. I'm saying from what I've seen, I'm just gonna be honest, from what I've seen, I have watched, even here in Sacramento, us be so upset at white people and anything that they do. Black people do the same exact thing, and it is crickets. And maybe that's not your experience. But I think, we have to learn to understand black people. But no, that's not your experience. You're saying you have an excuse for that, which makes sense for you. For me, it doesn't make sense. When you think of we just had a shooting and the brother just died. We all out there on something, let's not do anything. But when we know, like, this shit is wrong. And are we really trying to hold each other accountable? See, I can't be with people who are not accountable or responsible. I cannot be with people like that.
But where are we starting the accountability is my question.
We got to do it right with us.
Hold on though. If, again, what I'm doing in my home, if it needs to be
That's
improved,
so true, LaDonna.
then it needs to be improved. I understand that. But what I'm saying is that, again, that doesn't give the right for other people.
I don't disagree with that point.
But hold on, let me finish what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that, and you guys are saying we need to fix it and we need to be accountable. We are coming together as the collective in that moment to say, y'all don't get to treat us like this. And then their response is, but y'all treat each other this way. That's not for y'all to dictate, and that's not for y'all to judge.
I'm not even thinking about them. I'm thinking about us.
But
we have to respond according to
what I'm saying is that once we come together, if we can say, y'all don't get to do this to us, and then again, their response is, this is how y'all treat each other. It's like, oh, hold on. No, but listen, it's like, I heard you, and look, I heard you. I'm going to deal with that later. But what we're going to do it right now is what y'all not going to do to us.
I get that.
And then we can take that information and we can say, let's go back and let's now analyze. Let's go and break down. Let's start and trying to build this so people don't see us in this manner. But we can't just say, well, first it got to start with us, but we can allow all these people to do that.
I see what she thought we were saying. Okay, I get
you. Get what I'm saying?
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a great model for you to use. That's not the model I use. I think that's beautiful in life. We don't have to all be from the same model. I think that we do need to have people to say that to them. I don't have time for them, so I don't care what they do.
I don't give up.
I'm into.
I
feel like what she's saying, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about at some point somebody could be focused on our stuff.
We got to focus on us.
But I get what you're saying too. And
sometimes we don't have the luxury, the opportunities to focus on us until it gets brought to the forefront. And then when it gets brought
by other people,
but I'm saying by a tragedy, by anything happening that makes us say, you know what, this isn't okay. We need to address this with them, and then we're going to take this back and we're going to take this home with us. And we're going to address this in home. You get what I'm saying?
I'm going to say this. I understand what you mean by that. I don't necessarily agree with your method, but I agree. I understand what you're saying. Sister Danielle is saying it looked different when we respond. We do visuals and hold community meetings as a result of us killing us. And there are marches sometimes as well. But I'm not sure if we have accountability piece down where it comes to self-policing. That's all I'm saying. I don't really care about the white people.
That's what that's
how my answer is. Look, we've been for 400 years. So Lakeisha's also saying white supremacy has taught us to hate us, so we cannot we can devalue ourselves and harm ourselves when we weren't taught when we touch a white person. I'm sorry. Because I have on the screen where a black school officer was fired for repeating racial slurs used by a black student.
Yeah, I think
he was asking them not to call him that.
And he violated the policy by saying the word nigga, which is
back
crazy.
To him. But, do we get upset when a white kid does it? Like the white kids at the African American Smithsonian who was spitting down on black patriots. We were really upset at these white kids. Now we're going to go to the white children. But we see stuff like this and we just skip past it.
I don't know about that. I have some comments that I want to address.
Please go ahead.
Mostly because they all agree with me.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Are
you that kind?
Yeah, she's that kind.
Okay.
But I'm reading both.
I'm just joking.
It's okay.
Montez says, Juanita, I ride with you because we will get ourselves together. So I think that it's just a matter of perspective. Like how I was saying, we can get ourselves together, and not to say that it shouldn't be a sense of urgency with that, but when we have certain tragedies, as we come together as a unit, as a collective, to let other demographics or group understand we don't allow this, it's not for them to then criticize us about what we do within our own cultures and community, because we can get that together.
We weren't even arguing about that though, so that's kind of like when white people throw in this and they ain't got nothing to do with it. That's kind of what you did.
No,
because I want to read my comments too. So go ahead.
These are the comments that blacks kill blacks, whites kill whites. Like,
yeah,
and then the question was, are you saying that everybody holds everyone needs to be held accountable? And again, I feel like it's how you view the argument. When you say black on black crime, or when you make the assumption that there's not as much energy in order to resolve violence and crime within our communities, the way that we have the same or greater energy, greater upset for when someone else does it to us, that's y'all whole point, yes?
Well, maybe, but I'm not really thinking about them. I'm not thinking about them. I'm thinking about us.
I'm
so
sorry.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
So you keep using this, and I love you, and I'm happy that you got your own stuff. I love. I'm not.
Y'all, it's all love.
I'm not.
I know. You know, sometimes black women be talking, and y'all be like, "Dang, why they arguing?" We just
Latinos do the same thing. They're very passionate. Italians do the same thing. So I like we have one of those moments.
But let me just say this. Now, when you say, okay, well, yeah, we do need to get ourselves together, but when a tragedy happens, then that's our time to come together, blah, 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 blah. And here's all I'm saying, Queen, because I agree with you saying, although I'm not thinking about them, I'm thinking about us. But tragedy is happening every day, and we're normalized to it. Tragedies are happening every single hour. It's tragedies happening in our community right now. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying that we should be just as alarmed as when I don't even want to say bigger, because I don't think it's bigger, but when overt racism happens, let's call it that. But I feel like we need to there's tragedies that happen every day within our communities, like I'm saying right now, that we can deal with. We need to be alarmed with. So we're protesting them, right? Which I don't care about them, but we protest when they do something to us, and I get that concept. But we need to protest when we doing stuff to us, because that's how we gonna push the movement and get past where we are. We are the lowest on the social order.
Okay, but and y'all correct me if I'm
wrong.
I'm
not saying nobody. No.
I'm just saying I'm saying wrong in my understanding of what I might be hearing. But like how Romana just said, you know, when white people throw out a comment that don't really match with the conversation that we're talking about, when she just said that.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, when the conversation is how white people are not held accountable, how they are not brought to justice, how they are excused under the law or through the law, and not held accountable, if that's the conversation, why are we talking about black on black crime? Because that to me,
I can tell you why. Because I'm black. Because I'm black. That's what I'm talking about.
But that's two different
questions. It was our question. What was your original question?
My original question is...
Girl, I forgot. But I knew I answered.
No, she brought that black on black.
But what I'm saying is, and I hear what you're saying, all I'm saying is, and let me go to Lakeisha's comment, because I think when you're setting whatever you believe, that's great. But I'm saying I'm not going to ever agree with that, and that's okay. Because I know people who are your age, and people my age, and we may all disagree. But that's the beauty of who we are as a people, I feel. Lakeisha is saying, disciplining your community member is not the same as someone harming a community member.
Thank you.
So she's saying that. LaDonna is saying at some point we have to address what is wrong, which most of us don't want to do that, because then we can't blame nobody, because then we can't be accountable. I think we're in the age of the non-working accountable Negro, but that's just me. That's what LaDonna said.
No, I need my church notebook on that. You said we are in the age of non-working?
I said working, I mean working in community. See, one of the things I have over some groups is that people don't study their history. We go off of what's called branch knowledge, and branches break off every year and die, and new branches come in its place. I come from root knowledge. If I want to look at my ancestors who survived racism when they were at its highest, like when it was okay, when it was law. Right. What did they do? I don't do the little silly, like, we should do this. We know there is no system in this country that's going to convict its own. America has been standing for 400 years because they know how to maneuver and change. They know that Negroes want to be equal, so we'll do anything to get their approval. We will not be gangster. What other communities have is they have gangster. Okay, they can't even penetrate Asian gangs. They are so damn powerful in America. These are people who have supermarkets and banks. Same thing with the Latinos. They done left all of us in the past. They started off with us though, because when people come to America, you go to the Negroes. That's when you start off at. So I just feel like, and this sounds kind of messed up. I get the whole thing with white people, and maybe that's where our difference is. I don't really care about them. I really just don't. That this is who they've always been. I'm not trying to understand racism, how to get them not. America was built off of racism.
Right.
What I'm saying is, and this is the tradition that I'm from. I'm from a tradition where black people held each other accountable. And that is to say, sometimes they didn't always go to police. They could go knock on a person's door and be like, yo, your kids just jumped my daughter. Let's figure what? The parent be like, shit, I ain't raised my baby like that. But the problem is we got people who do raise their kids like that, who do raise their children to believe that black life has no matter, as we want to say. And then we have no way. It's like, that's when some of us move the hell out, rather take our chances with the Klan in Roseville than the niggas in Sacramento. Now that in itself speaks to something for me. That's just a little different. Lakeisha's also saying, she's saying a lot on here, whipping my child for a correction is different than abusing my child. So I can speak with someone abuses my child no matter what the race lens. I get that.
I don't think that we're disputing. I don't know. I think we went left a little bit, but it's okay.
It's okay. Left, though. But I hear what you said. I think, let me just say this for the record. I do think we need to have people like you whose job it is to be concerned with what white people do. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
I never said
No, that wasn't my point at all.
You just said they don't get justice, and so that's why y'all protest, right?
No. Let me clarify that. Let me clarify that because again, you guys are saying that I'm focused on the response of white people. That's not what.
Why you put me in it?
She said that I was okay. Damn.
Well, I get what you're saying.
I'm saying that I'm clarifying the understanding the perspective.
Okay.
I'm not saying that we are so focused on how white people are responding. What I'm saying is, as we are talking about black people and the collective, because again, my memory was that she started the conversation based upon normalizing.
I said
black death.
normalizing,
and so that was a conversation, and then she led it into we don't have the same energy when Day Day killed John. We don't have the same. So again, that's what we're addressing, sis. Okay.
I got you.
So what I'm saying is that that's where I was coming from. That's the perspective that I was talking about. So I wasn't talking about the white people and how they respond. What I'm saying is, as black people, we still come together when a white person who is not in our community violates us. And y'all were saying, well, if we gonna respond that way when someone outside of the community violates us, we need to respond that way and have that same sentiment for people in our inner circle.
But that's what I'm saying. Not if. It's irregardless of what white people do or don't do.
But
we need to address our issue.
But what I was saying was that that may be put on the back burner, and there may not be something that
we value our life.
Listen, I'm saying that may be something that we need to address, but what I'm saying is that we can't address. Sometimes it gets brought to the forefront by being violated by other people. So that's what I'm saying.
She said that we look at it now because it's been brought to the forefront because of the violence has happened.
I think we should look at it every day.
And maybe we could do that, but that's not on everybody's plate.
And
that's what I'm saying. But that's not on everybody's forefront at the moment. So then when
even though it's happening, but
and then when
it's normalized.
I want to just say a sentence.
I didn't say
I don't know. I can't get a sentence out without
I'm listening.
And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to clarify. I might be a little winded, but damn, let me get to the point before y'all argue against the point.
I didn't argue.
We're not arguing. I think we're agreeing that it's normalized.
I don't agree that it's
normalized.
So Lakeisha said we have everything we need to self-police. Supremacy tells us the methods aren't good enough. Our ancestors created, that's where I'm going to. Our ancestors created a system of community accountability. We think we need their way of justice to dictate our response and support. I agree. I agree. What I hear y'all saying is that in the moment we are home. We are sitting with each other, and now it's time for us. It's time for us to talk about hurting us. That's so true. That's so true. But we never. It feel like not all of us, but it seems like some of us never get a chance to do that. Because if I meet one more black mom who belongs to a group because her son was killed by another black man, I think I'm gonna just faint. And that's a group we never talk about. But we'll glorify people whose sons were killed or daughters were killed by the police. Something's wrong with that. And I'm saying glorify, we give them attention, we be like, this is so horrible. But to that mother whose son has been killed by one of our own, I never see that same kind of response.
But the difference is because
I don't think there's no difference.
There is a difference. There's a difference in the result. The result is different.
I'm not talking about the result, though.
But that's what the difference is, you guys. That's what I'm saying. The difference is because when someone's being held accountable, when someone's going to jail, then they're being held accountable for what the action that they've committed. When there's no response to the actions in taking a life and taking someone's son or taking someone's daughter, and there's no response to that, that's where the uproar and the upset comes from. It's not to say that, again, a death is a death. A death is a death, and how you went about it and everything, that I understand how the similarities can be the same, but at the end result, if there's no accountability to that, that's where the uproar is. And so we can't go and approach it in the same manner because people are being held accountable for the murders that they commit.
Black on black. No, a lot of unsolved. That's why you gotta do the research. A lot of unsolved murders. That's why it's called homicide.
But that's unsolved. We can't be mad about something that we don't know.
You can't be.
But how can you hold a black person accountable for another black person's death when you don't know if that black person killed that person?
Wow. Lakeisha says, sorry I used the word our. Got you. That's true. When talking about white power structure, we don't need to bring up black on black crime. That's what Lakeisha's saying. But I feel like
but that's what we was doing. But that's not really what I was doing.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, you good.
No, my phone died.
I'm down to where
my watch party. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna invite y'all back.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Khadijah says, laugh out loud, be concerned with white folks. Okay, y'all, I'm so lost in these comments. I think that's where we are at. But, and for the record, I don't hate white people. I don't hate nobody. No. But I love us. And I'm concerned about us. And we need to work on us. That's the only point I'm trying to make. That's my focus. I'm all about working on us. I don't want to talk about, I don't care what. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't care what is done to us by other people. Of course, I'm not being silly like that. I'm just saying that I think that we need to focus on the things, too, that we can really control. And that's the things that go on every day and all the time in our community so that we can develop an infrastructure. And so that we can talk about self-governance. We're at a point now we can't even discuss self-governance.
Because there's a distinction, and I feel like we don't have the same luxuries of talking about development and talking about building.
Why?
And all, because that's not where we at.
That's not where you're at.
I only be around buildings.
Well, you guys say when I say it, that's you, but y'all say it and it's
no. You know, I say no.
I'm not saying that you're not kicking knowledge.
I'm not saying that. I say words like some, and anybody who know me, really know me, nobody use words like some. You see me do a lot like that's you, that's me, because we belong to different worlds. That's very obvious that we belong to different worlds. I have young people the same age as you, and they belong to my world because they grew up with me and our tradition. And I think that's a big difference. In some people's world, when black life is lost, it's a loss for all of us. To some of us, it's only when whoever kills you. So let's just be honest, and it's okay that we're not in the same. We may share some of this and share some common experiences because of racism, but I know a lot of black builders. I know a lot of black people who have their own towns. You know what I mean? Like their own businesses and their own. I know people create a whole development. I visited that. So I don't say like we don't have luxury. One minute we're privileged Negroes, the next minute we can't govern ourselves. Which one is it?
Well, again, those are two different things.
Okay.
They're two different things.
Did you read Khadijah's comment?
Okay, did we read result is black life is gone?
Okay.
Sister Khadijah says, what is she talking about?
Who is the she?
We land our words instead of listening to the concepts. Is that one? Oh, that's LaDonna. While you're looking for that, LaDonna is saying we land on words no argument instead of listening to the concept. Okay. The question is, do we normalize black death? Okay. Do we normalize policing black death? So the conversation is rooted in how we respond to anyone who devalues black life. That I agree with.
Me too. I agree with that. Now I know where you at. And then Khadijah says accountability is lacking in the black community, period, point blank. Now I see where we at. Okay.
Yes, and Lakeisha is saying results. Hold on. Can't get this thing jumping. Hold on, y'all. So Lakeisha's making a pretty good point. Why this thing just jumped? She's talking about, here it is. Result is black life is gone. In
Ooh, let
Chicago,
there be
the
light.
cases are cold. Nobody knows or no one's telling. Killers never found. So no, we don't get justice in the black community when we kill each other. We know that the person was killed by another black person, but nobody really ever gets arrested. Mainly, and I'm gonna be honest, because sometimes black mothers be
Nobody
protecting
really
their
ever
son.
gets arrested.
I said no one ever really gets arrested. Most times we know that.
So that's
shocking.
your world?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that I'm
Well, you know what?
clarifying.
It is. It's the world. No, it's the world that I see, that I read by the newspaper. So I guess I'm sharing some of this with people who work the cases, or this sister Lakeisha in Chicago. You know, who's sharing? They know. Most times we know who killed who, but we have a no snitching policy. We have black mothers protecting their children, even when they're wrong as hell. These are real concepts. That is not all of us. Not all black mothers do that. I think there's a lot of black mothers who live in justice.
But there's a lot of black mothers too that protect their sons when they dead ass wrong. I'm not even talking about killing, but I'm talking about other stuff that
Girl,
they
don't
do.
even get started with that.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
we
whole
don't
different conversation.
get me started.
She said it's unresolved because black people are not snitching, so they're unsolved. That's what I know to be true. We know there could be 1,000 people
Did we
outside.
read Danielle's comment?
No.
Okay, because Khadijah's saying we missing a lot of comments.
Sorry.
Oh, you wanted to say? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So Danielle says, I get stories on my feed every day about black women getting killed in intimate partner violence. If not every day, every other day I see stories. And we have yet to address this in a real way. And while we don't want folks to call the cops, some black survivors feel they have no one else to call because we don't protect. Oh no!
But we
I'm
don't
sorry.
protect.
No,
we don't protect
I
black
lost
women
it.
who we
saw that,
we
right?
should.
I didn't.
What everyone agrees on is accountability is lacking. Danielle, how old are you? Khadijah said y'all skipped a lot of comments. Yeah, Khadijah.
Yeah, we sorry, Khadijah.
And then she said that's factual research, little sister. That's
What's
factual
factual?
research, little sister. I just know that I don't make this stuff up. I'm not sitting here coming up with
No,
this. I would
I'm
love for
asking
black
what's
people.
factual. Because if we look at black on black crime in numbers, because we could look at stats. Because y'all know the first 48, right? They show
TV
people
show?
that TV show.
I
They
hate that show.
No,
She's
of course,
34.
everybody hates that show. But I'm saying
Ooh, our cops in Texas.
they go after these people and they always black. And they always this person and doing the investigation and all
That's
this
true. I don't
stuff.
like watching that shit.
Like yeah, it's
agree with you.
very depressing. But if we really look at stats, if we really look at numbers, and we look at who are killing black people and who are going to jail for killing black people, it's going to show. Like you know what I mean? It's not that I'm not saying that there's unsolved mysteries, but I'm saying in that same breath, if white people are not going to be held accountable, right, and they don't have this value for black lives and all this stuff, then there might be some black people who take that same sort of perspective. And why should I have to, tell this person, and this happens all the time, and people don't be held accountable? You get what I'm trying to say? So I feel like there's a distinction. I wish my phone would come back on. Oh, it is. Boom! Look at God. I feel like
keep doing your point though, girl.
but I feel like there is a distinction in how we go about it. And if there is a sense of community within our people and again the collective, then we can hold each other accountable. Other people will be willing to be accountable. But if there are people who like, well, my son got killed and nobody did nothing for my son, you get what I'm saying? And then you see your neighbor going through something and you know that your neighbor didn't committed a crime, but you like, well, I ain't gonna say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a sense of mentality where it's like, I'm not gonna go get justice for you because then nobody get justice for me.
I agree with that.
But that's for unsolved mysteries. And then when there are people who are being held accountable, there might be people with the other perspective of saying, you know what? I know that that's wrong, but the way that they, again, threw the book at my nephew, the way they threw the book, they didn't have to give him 35 to life. They could have gave him, you know what I mean? Because he was 16 or he was 17. So there are some people who see the devastation in it all. There's a lost value of life in the victim, and there is a lost value of life in the person who perpetrated, especially when they're young and they're really being wrapped up in such a negative environment. And that's what we were talking about before in terms of building and creating a sense of collective and unity. But I'm like, we don't always have the luxury of that because, like you said, there are people who raise their kid to You know, I was just having this conversation with my niece because, again, like I said, she's in high school now, right? And she was talking about all these fights that's been happening at the school and everything. Ooh, and she's like, you know, I don't swing first. I don't put my hands on people. And I said, why you don't swing first? What? but on some real shit, because this is not elementary school no more. You get what I'm saying? As an elementary, as my daughter is 8 years old, I'm not gonna tell her somebody make you mad, you go hit them. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm gonna tell her in elementary. But if somebody come with you with that energy in high school, you better make sure you get at least one good one. Like, you know what I'm saying? So why are you waiting? Why are you gonna stand there like a sitting duck, wait for somebody to hit you for you to know that you're in a fight? That's crazy to me.
Get your people back up. Lakeisha's saying it's factual by the numbers of unsolved cases, and she shared a link with you as well.
Unsolved cases. That's what I'm saying. There's a distinction in unsolved cases.
It sounds like that you are defending the death of black people.
That's wild.
Okay, I don't know. This is okay. That's Juanita.
Okay,
Juanita.
Okay, and then and then she cites the crime lab.
Yeah.
And then also Khadijah says, very interesting views today. It further proves we are from different tribes and that all skin folk are not your kinfolk.
Okay. No, that's true, because I do say we, because I see black in America make you feel like black is a collective, but we know, just like on the continent, we're all from different tribes. So we use the we because of the experience of racism, but we know within our community, we're not really all in the same game. I sound like that song. We're all in the same game. I just flipped it around. But I
all
get that.
around the world, same song. Okay.
Popping game on. I can't really pop. But go ahead. All right. So let me ask you about this guy, this black officer. What do y'all think about the racial slurs with the black students? How do we deal with that as black people? Now we just talking about
nothing.
Juanita, you ain't playing with us.
No, I'm just asking.
What we gonna do? I go to schools every day. Every day I hear Mexicans, Asians who be like, nigga, on my mama, nigga. And I be looking at them and they be like, cause you know it's that look that you like, was that you? And it's like, I know it was you and you know it was you, but I'm like, did I hear what I thought I heard? They like, no, that wasn't me. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have to just check people sometimes. I was literally interpreting in the classroom this week, and the teacher was like, and you know, I told you guys to play good music during the this, and that, and you guys kept playing songs that just said nigga. Mind you, I'm interpreting this teacher's words. And I must have looked at him.
Stop at the end.
You know I did. I did.
I would have loved this. Why nobody?
And then he was like, I'm just saying, you know, what they were saying, what you guys, because then he was looking at me because I'm like, chill, homie. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, there's still a level of respect. But some people just don't have that. And as black people are using the word and we say it's okay and blah, 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 there's other people who feel like, I'm part of the culture. I have mixed kids. I have mixed kids. Or my granddaughter's black. Right. So, not like your granddaughter's mixed because you're white as shit. So your granddaughter's not black. But, I mean, whatever.
Hey, Danielle, what happened with Pastor Wilson today? Sorry, go ahead. Keep going. I just want to, because she said what happened, Pastor. I don't know what happened with Pastor Wilson.
Well, I've seen all the memes.
Did you? What happened? Do you know?
No,
I don't know.
I seen memes, y'all.
Okay.
I don't know the story.
I'm sorry.
I seen memes.
When you was doing your translation, could you show us how you was translating when you got to the N word? Was it like?
Well, let me be very clear.
You gonna stop?
I want to be very clear. Okay. The sign for ASL, the sign for nigga, is an N on your nose.
Wow.
Location is very important with sign language. Where you sign certain things in the location it has context. It has context. The reason, because sign language is a visual language, obviously. So niggas are identifiable by their nose. That's why it's on your nose. Wow. That's a very true fact. And then it was actually one student that I had to check her because she was talking about something about in the ghetto, right? And when she said ghetto, she used the G across her forehead like this. She was saying ghetto. And it took me back. And the reason, again, is because, again, like I said, location is very important in sign language.
So if you do it across here,
I understand. But how do you say black in sign language? It depends on who you are. If you are a person who is of black culture and you're a proud black person, you might have a B and you do it on your head like this. And you're like, I'm black. Like, I'm black. Like, I'm black. Right, you know what I'm saying? Right. Compared to someone who might just be genetically biracial and they're like, oh, I'm black. They just do it with this sign, and they say black. And that's like the same as the color black. They just say, oh, I'm black. And then some black people will use a B and say, I'm black. Like, I'm black, right? So then when this student was using the G on this same location, and I said, what's that supposed to mean? And she said, ghetto. I said, why are you associating ghetto with black people? Because that's the association in their language. If you sign it up here, then that means that you thinking ghetto means black. Black means ghetto. And I had to check her on that because I said,
Wait,
no.
that means check?
No,
what does check mean? Because I like the way you say check up.
No, I just had to address that. And I said, that's not okay for you to associate ghetto with black people and black people with ghetto because those aren't the same things, but that's her experience. So when I was in the midst of that, I had to look at him and he was like, well, I was saying what they were saying. And I was like, watch it. And he didn't say it again. So I'm just saying.
I don't want to just see when you know somebody be in the middle of something, you be like, you almost either go slow or be like,
because sometimes it catch you off guard, you know, and because my brain is processing at least a sentence behind what you, because I can't think at the same level, I can't sign at the same level that you're talking at, right? So I'm at least a sentence, a couple words behind, so when it's going and I hear it, but I'm processing something else, but I'm like, hold on, wait, pause, everything. What?
I just learned
I've had those
today.
moments.
No,
I've
seriously, you don't think you ain't
moments.
teaching me something. You just taught me something.
Oh
that
my
makes so much sense.
God.
What?
Pastor Wilson. Oh, I'm sorry,
Who is
y'all.
he?
Who is?
I don't
Well,
know.
at first I thought it was the other
Pastor Wilson.
Yeah, but now this is another Wilson. I mean, you know, I guess he's still. But supposedly there's some type of sex tape or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, that makes sense now. From
Is
the
that what
memes
you're
I
talking
saw.
about, Queen?
Because I saw. Remember I told you about the SpongeBob when it was the SpongeBob meme and he was like, "I'm gonna head out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna head out." It was something about. Oh, never mind. No, because I just thought about the
While you look at that, I'm just reading some of the things. Somebody, Sister
head
Keisha
out.
said, "No, we are all kin folks. We come from different paths to get to our collective destination." I agree, but I don't think all of us is going to the same destination. But I feel what you're saying. Notes are y'all addressing about Pastor Wilson? We gonna find out about Pastor Wilson because I don't know about Pastor Wilson.
I'm reading about him right now.
Kadisha said, your opinion, sis. I guess that was to Lakeisha. And then she said, the mine, of course, as is yours. I love when we can agree. See how beautiful that was? She said, that's your opinion. You said, that's yours. Great. We agree to that. See, that to me is how we really kind of deal with each other. It's great. We have plenty of cultural traditions we can fight for besides using you ain't never lied, the word niggas. I think it's nonsense. I get you. Rolanda's reaction. I would love it. We're going to use nigga. We got to use spick, yank, dago, wetback. I said use them all. Fuck it. But if we ain't going to use them all, let's not use none. But that's just my opinion. Okay, Danielle is saying, responding to the side note.
Spoke on that a little bit in that stand-up comedy that he did.
Oh, when he said,
he did speak on that. Like, why can I
use the word?
I'm not going to use the word because I feel like it's very offensive, but he was talking about the F word.
Faggot is what he said. Go ahead. I'm okay to say all words. They're the same thing. But go ahead.
That word, and he was allowed to say that word, or was not allowed to say that word on television in fear of upsetting the gay community. But then he was allowed to use the N word with no care about upsetting the black community.
Hold. Yeah, I get you. Hold on. This saying that the side note is Pastor Wilson is the pastor caught on a sex tape going down on a sister, not his wife. Black Twitter was going crazy on his alleged skills. Black people. God.
Well, why would...
Wait, what we talking
I'm
about?
trying to figure out why it was on tape. But
Danielle, he was going down on somebody, but it wasn't his wife. And they talking about the skills he had.
That's the meme that I saw. That's the meme that I saw. The meme that I saw was a SpongeBob, and it was like when a dude is down there and he can't do it right. And then SpongeBob, and in the picture, where he's standing up saying, "I'm going to head out," it said, "I'm going to head to pastor." I didn't know what it meant. I seen all these posts, and I'm like, what pastor they talking about? And I didn't know what they were talking about.
Church or not? Because maybe this, that's between him and his wife. He going to cheat on his wife. What makes it different? Because he's a pastor?
Duh.
Well, he was the leader of the Black Chamber of Commerce and something else.
It's a big deal.
I thought he was his wife.
That's why I'm trying to figure out
or something. I don't know.
Why it was on the tape, though. I wonder what. I don't know.
Because people have a certain expectation that they are expected to.
No, I get that. You know we get.
No, I love it. That now, I'm being sarcastic.
Because people do mess up. I mean, they do mess up, and what you doing?
What
is guard
if
something
you
to the
be a
light.
pastor and be a swinger at the same time?
If you believe in it,
Ain't nothing against in the Bible against swinging, is it?
I'm sure it is. Isn't that adultery?
I don't know.
Oh, it ain't adultery. The people cool with it.
Oh!
I'm asking.
Juanita said nigga 10 times, but refused to say faggot. Why? Because gays are powerful, that's why.
No,
Black
I'm
folks
not-
don't have
no,
no power.
no.
We're back to the
That- can I answer the
national
question?
black people.
Was she asking me the question?
Yes,
Just
she was.
wondering.
She was asking you, but I'm
So
giving her
my
my
answer-
spiel. That's why I said faggot, but go ahead.
My answer to that is the reason that I don't say that is because I feel like people in different
Y'all is
communities
something
are
else.
allowed to say different things. If I say, "What's up, bitch?" That don't mean some dude off the street could be like, "Hey, bitch, come here." That's a different energy because again, as we talked about, when you are part of a group and when you're not part of a group, and it feels like a violation. I'm not in the gay community. I might be an ally to the gay community, but I'm not in the gay community, and I would never use that as a term, as a joking term, or to be offensive to upset somebody. I would just never do that. But me being black, being born black, me dying black, I'm gonna say nigga all day because that's in my community, and I understand the different context of that. I also understand when I can and cannot say that. I wouldn't be in certain settings and use that word because I'm never gonna let other people think that is okay in those settings. That is in a very intimate group. I know other gay people who may use that word like, you looking like a, you know what I mean? And they use it and they joke about it and do that. But other times when people use it who are not part of that community, it's very offensive or it's a mockery. So I understand the context of that. So I just don't use it because I feel like it's offensive. And the people who I do respect, like Josh, shout out to you if you're still watching, babe. But like I just wouldn't use that term. I'm just never gonna use that term. And the people around me, I be telling them, don't use that, like because it's offensive. And if I was a white person thinking that all my friends around me say the N-word, I would still tell them, yo, that's not cool to use. Like I don't know, like I'm not part of that. What you laughing at?
I'm laughing at the text I got. Look,
I can't
okay,
do it.
don't be texting me during the show.
Why
Okay,
you
so
screaming?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You like to read something, you be like, okay, so got you. Look, y'all. I feel you, LaDonna. I feel what she's saying. Khadijah, I got it. And you see, I just think it's about. I just think it's about where people are. If I have to go all the way back, where people are. Some of us are black on holidays and weekends. Some of us are black during the whole week, 365 days a year. Some of us are black when there's money being given. Some of us are black when we're in trouble and we need the help of the people. It's different variations of black. I mean, I'm saying it in a calm voice because I'm laughing because I just feel like that's really the truth. I do know that the gay community is very powerful, and some of us have to live and work with them. And that's when I hear people say you have to be totally independent. I can totally get it because I'm also that same person who can sit next to a Republican, probably a racist, and I could probably have a pretty decent conversation because I know where they're coming from, they know where I'm coming from, and we can respect each other and go our respective ways. You can't always do that with people who you think you have something in common with. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm learning as I get older. I used to hear older people say that. At first I was young and I was like, nah, because they ain't racist. But the older I get, and as I still do business and do work, I'm having some real interesting conversations with people who I never thought I would have an alliance with at all. Because it's like
You guys found
it's
something
just
about you that was deeper than your differences?
Deeper than my what?
Deeper than your differences?
You know what? I think we came to a better understanding. That's what I think. I think when people tell me who they are, I believe it. I don't try to convince you. I don't try to do anything. I try to figure out how can I get my needs met. Like I give you the best example I can give you. We know we have a homeless crisis in California, in the world, really. So in New York, one of the new articles, and I'm going to jump to, and I hope y'all can ride with me with this one. So they're saying, for instance, in New York, there are working people living in shelters.
Yeah.
We have thousands of
poor.
folks who are having a job here, as I'm trying to bring it up. There are thousands of New Yorkers who are working, employed New Yorkers who live in homeless shelters. Like that's their address, family. Mm-hmm. But then on the next note, because I had sometimes around the homeless issue, I had people who were conservative who agreed with me on the homeless situation. I didn't go into their politics. I just thought, like, thank you for agreeing with me. And they're going to stand up with me to fight against this, while there were black people who were so-called down who said that they ain't want the homeless people where they live at. And half of these motherfuckers been homeless at least once or twice in their life and probably will be homeless before the year's up because they're not going to pay their rent. But, also we have students down in the Bay Area who are balancing being homeless and going to school. Now, these are people saying they're trying to better themselves. To me, maybe I'm not seeing this right, but if you're in school and you're homeless but you still going to school, I think that's totally impressive.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that would give you a good case to drop out if you wanted to. Like, hell, I can't balance being homeless. Because being homeless is work. Where you put your stuff at during the day or whatever.
Where you put your notebooks. Tyler Perry was homeless.
Yeah.
And was
you know,
writing plays.
Right. So it's kind of like, we know that this homeless thing is pretty serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that there was a lot of black people who totally disagree with what we do with homeless people because they think that job is for these other groups of people to come in and show us. Because I had somebody say that to me, and this was an elder, that lead that to those people that's their lane. And it's like, no, but these are our people that are homeless. So how the hell we don't have an opinion? But that's just me. Also, when I was like,
you see a lot of black people, a lot of homeless black people.
50% of the homeless in Sacramento are black.
I don't see them.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh,
You don't see them, and it ain't real. But it is 50%
No.
of them are homeless, and I'm like, damn. I know I see some. I go into my building every day, and the hallway at night we gotta walk the hallways and make sure nobody's sleeping in the back hallway or whatever. My heart goes out because I couldn't imagine some of them have children, and we know a lot of those people have children. People couch surfing. If you couch surfing, you're homeless. I'm just going to have to be honest with you. You're homeless.
And well, that's what I was gonna ask what the distinction was because, like I said, I don't see white
those people.
Well, those aren't technically homeless people.
No, they didn't count them because you can't do a survey on people who couch surf. If you're walking around doing a survey as who's homeless, I see who's homeless, that's different. But if somebody's couch surf, they aren't gonna say I'm homeless unless they be honest and say, let me get counted because I'm sitting on this person's couch. Some people think I have a place to stay. I stay at my grandma's. But you on her couch, boo. Like, you know, that's not
Oh,
what
I
it
thought
is.
that
That's what
was
means.
part of that distinction of who was homeless.
No, I mean, that's what they were
literally,
counting.
when I look on the streets, I don't see a lot of black people on the streets with signs. You know what I mean? Like I see white people on the streets with signs. All throughout Sacramento.
Yeah.
I don't really see very many black homeless on the streets. But I mean, I'm also not standing outside of shelters to wait to see who gets in. Who gets in and who gets to bed and whatnot, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I do agree that homeless does still mean if you are couch surfing, if you are in a room, you know, with other people or sharing or whatever, like I feel like that's still homeless. Yeah, that's still homeless, and I would consider that to be true. But I'm surprised that number is as high as it is for black people. I think that people have a very different reasoning why they justify or why they think it's appropriate for certain people to be homeless. Because there are people who think, oh, you're just not working hard enough. Right. There are people who think, oh, you just didn't manage your money. There are people who think you really want to just be on the streets. You don't want to worry about bills and a job, and you just want to ride everybody else's wave. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had a conversation with someone last week, and I'm like, you know, kids know right from wrong, and this was a whole different conversation, but at the end of the day we were talking about, it ended up getting to homelessness, and I was like, you know, I've never been with a child who saw someone homeless who didn't have their heart broke for that homeless person. You know what I mean? Like, the way that we will just walk past, like, oh, there was somebody on the corner, I barely even seen him. You know what I mean?
I could put that picture of these people eating, there's a person right there asleep. They, you know, like they homeless.
And yeah, they don't even, like, we are so...
Oh, you talking about San Francisco now.
We are so... We just don't see it, and I'm saying, like, children, they see it. Children, it's like, why is that okay? Like, you know, and let's give them this, and then you'll hear a parent say, no, because they was here last week with the same sob story. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the thing is that there's just not a lot of empathy as to why these people are homeless. People are not thinking it's working poor. Yeah. They're thinking they're thinking it's a result of something. It's a decision. You are on drugs or you're addicted, and there's a reason that they feel like, oh, you're homeless due to your own actions. It's almost one of the things where it's like, don't create the storm and then get upset when you get wet, when it's raining. You know what I mean? And it's sometimes people feel like that's the bed you created. That's what you got to lay in. You didn't want to go to school. You didn't want to get a job.
But I know somebody would have...
No, we know that. But I'm just saying that's what other people think. And that's what they justify other people being homeless. And I don't have to help them. And I don't have to have this empathy. And I don't have to have this because this is a bed that they've created.
Right.
I agree with that.
Cornell
West is saying that the term working poor is an oxymoron.
No, it's not.
Oxymoron. Hold on. If you are working, you shouldn't be poor. Okay. Let alone homeless. Okay. But that's how our economy, government policy works in the U.S. Danielle, I agree. Because if you're working, you should at least make enough to pay your rent.
But why?
Right,
But why? When everybody votes against raising minimum wage,
Hey,
everybody votes against.
I agree with that.
So we
and
can't
also
say that.
having that rent cap. No,
Yeah,
I got
so there's no control on rent. There's no rent
Not at
control.
all.
There's no agreement on minimum wage.
Wait,
but I'm
that's
supposed
so
to just
true.
work and be able to provide. That doesn't add up. That's the oxymoron.
Yeah,
Like that's the rock and the hard
I
place.
agree.
The
I agree.
reality is that we have very much a working poor. The only people, the only real classes that we have are the 1%. And the poor.
rest of us.
No, it's the 1% and the poor.
Right.
All that in between, the middle class,
Yeah,
the upper
that
middle
shit
class,
don't
the
exist.
lower middle class. That
Hey,
shit is
Dr.
not
Flo,
real.
I agree.
Dr. Flo, can you address that? Is there a working poor?
Homelessness, yeah, homelessness affects black mothers excessively. I know that because I work with black moms, and they're always kind of homeless, to a certain, to a different circumstances. But that's a whole other thing. I see a lot of visible homeless black people on SAC. I know I do, especially when I'm around certain areas. LaDonna said I see a lot of men. Khadijah's saying that LaDonna, yes, black women. I think sis is not seeing them like she says other folks do. I get that. And I want to say
What do
this
you guys
too.
think about the scattered housing that the city is talking about?
Scattered housing?
What do you mean? Like renting houses and putting people in them?
They're talking about at the homeless sites. They're talking about putting 40 houses on those spots. Like I'm thinking maybe one spot might be Stockton Boulevard, and it'd have 5 beds, and it'd have a house manager.
I think they're trying out new
City of
stuff.
Sacramento.
I don't know. I mean, I need to look into that probably a little bit more. I'm just familiar with the low barrier shelters. But I just think homelessness is like a real problem. And all jokes aside, I think that it's a shame that we are in the richest country on the planet and we have homelessness. We are in one of the richest states. California is one of the richest states in the whole United States. And we have
California
homeless-
is the 5th largest economy in the world.
Right.
In the world. We
Yeah,
make
so I
more
feel
money
some
in
about-
California than other countries make.
Yeah.
Than majority.
That's
How many
sad.
countries? Hey Siri. Oh, let me
Yeah.
not ask her.
Hey,
But I was just about to find out.
That's
but
what's up.
we make more money than the majority
That's true.
of the world as a state.
Yeah.
That's why it is very, very sickening and unsettling that the reason, and I say this all the time, we don't provide for people because we can't afford it. We don't provide for people because they can't afford it. And that's just what it comes down to.
Ah, I got
It's-
that.
It's,
Okay.
it's not that
I
we
get
can't
that. I
give. We
get
could
that.
give and we could have a little bit less and
That's
everybody
real talk.
could eat. But it's like, well, you could eat, but what you got?
That's
If
true.
you could afford it, then I'll feed you. Not that I can't afford to give it to you. That's really where we're at. But the people just don't think of collecting because everybody think that's communism. Everybody thinks
That's
that that's
true.
communism. And
That's
I'm
true.
like, socialism is not communism. And everybody think, oh, well, if I go to school for this amount of time, why should I make the same amount? Because I'm like, every doctor still need a pool man. Every doctor still need a mechanic. Every doctor still need a farmer. So
That's so
stop
true.
making it seem, and every doctor ain't out here saving lives. There's doctors giving people titties and boobs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's real talk.
why just because you're doing some plastic surgery, you supposed to make a bunch of money as if you impacting the world the way we got farmers and people, you know what I'm saying, really impacting our community and how we move as a country. Like,
get that.
you giving somebody some Kylie Jenner lips don't mean that you should make $250,000 and you know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
It's
Let
just
me ask you
crazy.
this: how do you think? So we talked about the homeless thing. The White House moves to strike free school lunches from like 500,000 kids in the U.S.
Say
Like,
that
that's
one more
gonna
time.
save our budget. The White House moves to strip free school lunches from about 500,000 kids.
When I tell you how my blood boils to think about that school lunch debt is a real thing.
Yep.
That is a real, like,
That's
y'all
so
will
true.
really,
That's
how, it just, again, oxymorons, how you got school lunch debt? How you can't afford to feed kids, but you can afford to feed prisoners? Oh, excuse me. That's because prisoners give us money.
They
Prisoners
do.
make us money.
They make money.
And all of that.
But they get money for those children too.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that's
No,
what
but not
that's
the same way, though.
They take it from our taxes, right? We
Yeah,
all pay into
we
this
pay
for
that.
our taxes.
But
along
prisons
with our-
make money.
But
They
they
make
are
money.
literally a
They-
money
I
maker
know.
in
Yup.
prison. But I'm
Yup.
saying, how can? But that's the whole stark sadness about it is that we got money for things that make us money. You get what I'm saying?
Yup.
But we
I
don't
get
got
that.
money for stuff that's just right and the stuff that you're supposed to do. Like, how you gonna let a kid be hungry?
Yeah, that's
How?
a shame.
And how you gonna lock up a parent? Because you know that then they'll lock up parents for child neglect, for not feeding your children, for not doing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, But then when I send them to school where they can get free lunch, now you're telling me that I can't get free lunch. So then when they come back home and they're hungry, now they're going to be taken away because they're not eating. Like, it's just a constant attack on poverty. Like, that's really what it is. I would think that we would have nothing but compassion for individuals who can't afford to feed the children at home. There's a lot of children who get food, breakfast and lunch every day at school. Like, you get what I'm saying? And their parents only have to provide one meal a week. And maybe that's what they can balance. And then on the weekends, they got to feed them all of the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But that's why even certain programs in certain districts, they have summer programs so where kids can come during the summer and get breakfast and get lunch because they understand. Because think about it. When you have at your school, 80% of your population at your school gets free lunch. How they eating during the summer? It's 80%, and that's what I'm saying. So we have to think about that, and we have to think about the impact of that. So for Orange Man in the White House to decide, oh, well, they don't need to eat at all. Okay, so then don't be mad when they run up on your grandma. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just...
They're probably going to run up on me. But you see a comment in there for...
Vanessa Hinton, Peace Queen.
I read what she said, too.
Yeah, she says, we all cannot become doctors, lawyers, teachers, etc. Some of us will just be average skilled people and content with that state.
Exactly.
The rich is the only group of folks who is ensuring there will always be poor folks.
Dangerous, right?
Yeah, that's what America is built on. You got to have a slave and you got to have a master.
Yep, slave labor.
And I say this as well. From slavery to industrial revolution and railroad building to cubicles, America is good at producing workers. And you have people at the top who manage the workers, and you have people at the bottom who work. That's it. That's the only sort of dynamic that we've ever had in this country.
So with that being said, I'm not a Democrat. I just want to say that for the record. But I know that the Democratic the debate, which I'll call it, what's that show they get voted off? You have to see who will get voted off each week.
Yeah,
Survivor. So the Democratic Survivor debates. Did anybody watch that? I didn't really watch the debates because I just want to see who's going to be left. Get that last week. I mean,
so who left?
I don't know who's left now. I think they down from the 22 people they started out with. So what they down like the 13?
Is Burt still in? Because that's the only person I was really paying attention to.
Is that
no? It's a white guy. Bourke. Is that how you say his last name?
I know.
I forget what his first name is.
Biden, the Jewish dude who said black folks don't need reparations. Kamala, who locks up black people. Cory Booker, who ran the worstest big city in Jersey. I just look at a lot of people like, what the hell? I don't know what the Democrats going to do because you better try to keep trying to impeach 45 because you damn sure not going to be able to beat them. With the people y'all got up, it's just like, I don't know what to tell y'all. I didn't watch this. I just get tired of hearing people pandering to people. Or if you elect me, I'm going to give you reparations. If you elect me, I'm going to make sure everybody has
If you had to vote today, who would you vote for?
Myself.
I'm going to have to meditate on it. Can you write yourself in there? Cause,
you can.
You can write anybody in there.
I said we run you for president. Fuck it. You know.
I can't do worse than 45.
Yeah.
Shit. I can't get worse. It doesn't get lower than Trump. So, I vote.
So you saying he don't have a bottom?
He is the bottom.
I think he's pushing for his team.
He is the bottom.
I think he's pushing for his team, which ain't probably our team, but it's his team. I always look at people's mission and their team. I don't get mad at what they do. But I just realized he's working to make America great again, which was never great for black people who were descended of enslaved people. So he's working for a different team. Mm-hmm. And I know if there had been anybody else, say John F. Kennedy, he'd have been assassinated. If there had been anybody else, they'd be gone already. So evidently enough people who say they're our friends is okay with his position too. Because they ain't none of them lost no goddamn money. Always follow the money, family. Follow the money. But I don't know. Elizabeth Warren, I may vote for Elizabeth Warren. I mean, I kind of like, old white women can sometimes, Joe Biden's like a tough white dude. He's from Scranton, New Jersey. Scranton, Pennsylvania, sorry. And so he knows how to talk that shit. But Donald Trump is good at shit talking, so I don't know how good he would be. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could dominate a dude like that, to be honest with you. I definitely think Kamala let the white man snatch the mic from her, so she had to sit the fuck down. She didn't, ain't no way in hell I'd get a white man my mic. She was like, oh my God. He jumped up on stage and took the mic, and she was like, and then the little sister was like, give her a mic. Even she had one. I was like, oh, wait a minute, Kamala, you act like this a black man you locked up and get that goddamn mic back. But I don't know. Who would you vote for? I'm just saying. I
you know what? I'm going to tell y'all the truth. And this is so irresponsible. Yeah, no, I'm going to keep it solid. And I'm so ashamed of it, too. What? But just to tell y'all the truth, y'all, why I don't know. I don't know who even the people are. I know Biden is, and
oh.
Kamala and Corey and all of them, but y'all don't really watch TV that much. But I do watch stuff, but I really don't know. So that's why I was just asking you, like, what's going on? Really, I wanted to know what was going on. Like, you know.
You see Vanessa's comment?
No,
The current administration is hella bent on ensuring a lot of legacy programs are erased. Again, the current administration are folks who made money by going into politics. They go to Washington broke and hungry and leave rich. That's kind of like being in the street. You in the street homeless, hungry, and then you get it in. This includes the Dems and the GOP. Trump only wants to go into politics to gain contacts to lead him to more money. So far, we are headed towards disaster. But America itself has been a disaster, but that's a whole other story. I'd rather have the pimp that I know is a pimp than a pimp that's kind of a pimp that wants to be a pimp, or a pimp who's kind of developing their game on being a pimp. I don't know. It's a lot of pimp in here.
Girl, why did you just flip that African proverb? Look how she's looking at us.
No,
it's kind of like a devil you know is better than a devil you don't know.
But do we really know the devil?
We definitely
say that shit, but the real devil that we think we know really showed up as the devil, we be scared shitless. I'm just saying. I think that kind of always confused me. I just was joking around when I said that.
Yeah.
But that's that kind of thing that we throw out there. Sometimes it's when we tell kids to be honest and shit, but we'll talk about the devil. You know, I don't be understanding that shit. But that's
so the way I interpret that proverb, a devil you know is better than a devil you don't know. The person that really shows you that they are evil is better than a person that smiles in your face and really is evil behind your back. That's the way I interpret it.
Okay. I would say, why we gotta.
I'm glad I'm looking at these comments.
Yeah,
well, because my mine shut down.
Yeah, so she.
And then I came back up, but I thought that I had to start a whole new watch party. So my bad, y'all, that I missed.
Oh, it's staying on.
The watch party continues, but my phone died. So when I turned my phone back on, I thought I had to start up a new watch party. If that makes sense. But it was still been going this whole time, and I had to close the other one. This is not for me.
So the last comment I have is Vanessa Hinton.
I did that already.
No, that's the one last. So there's more after that?
No, I on my own watch party. So
okay.
I took hers and I started a watch party. So Miss Sonia Lewis, she was, just some things that we've already touched on.
Yeah,
but she was saying how black on black crime is a misnomer. So meaning that it's a mislabel. That's what that word means. When you say that black on black crime, it creates a whole different view and vision of what we're really talking about, because as she continues to say, because people usually kill people in the community who look like them, but it has not been normalized to say white on white. When we look at FBI stuff and who's our biggest threat in America and that's white on white crime. We don't call these mass shootings. We don't label them the way that they should be labeled as mass shootings, or we don't label them as domestic terrorists. We don't label them white on white crime. That's the biggest white on white damn crime. But except for the people, like, unfortunately, that happened in Texas when that guy went and drove to, I want to say it was Del Paso, and he went to a Walmart specifically in a community that he knew was high population of Mexicans or immigrant people, and he went to a location that they would probably be shopping at, and his goal was to kill those specific people. So that's very different, but for the majority of the time, when you going in movie theaters and country concerts and stuff, that's white on white crime. I don't know too many black people who was in a country concert, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not labeled. It's not labeled.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with
that.
But a lot of people who say that probably raised a few people who went to jail and killed people. But hell, I mean, come on. See, my thing is with black people, it's okay to say I agree that you don't like the term, but I'm still going to use the term. And I think as black people, we got to learn to be like, hey, we may not be eye to eye on that, but hey, that's your view. It's not nobody's job to try to convince me why I don't get to say that. I'm black. I'm concerned about what's happening with black people. Some of us came to the fight because white people brought us to the fight because they was in the fight. They weren't in the fight because black people needed help. That's what gets me when people talk like that. Was you in the fight, or were you away at school, or were you? I mean, where?
But maybe you weren't aware though.
But my point is, but my point is with that is that people talk that shit. But look at your history. That's all I'm saying. Because we spend so much time trying to convince people what they think ain't right. Look, you make sure you run your shit down. You make sure you don't have no kids in jail and prison on some bullshit. And if you know this shit is not right, That's what really gets me with black people. We'll debate all day about black on black this, even though we say black excellence, even though we say, black power and all that bullshit. But are we governing our black goddamn kids so they don't hate other black kids? Do we do that? Not all of us, but some of us. Come on. Like, I would love to hear a mom whose son killed somebody else or did something to the other black person talk about how they felt about that happening. Like, I don't get to hear empathy from people whose children have killed other people's children. I don't get to hear that. I get to hear a lot of goddamn excuses about the white man and all. I don't give a fuck about white people. I think that's what I said. I don't give a fuck. If that's the case, I had 2 white people sitting here and we can talk about every goddamn thing. No, honestly. But there's something wrong when black people cannot focus on themselves. It's like there's something wrong with us. But then we want other people to think that we're okay when they know we ain't okay. Me getting shot by a white person probably will never happen. But me getting shot by a black person, I'm going to probably have some chances of that. And that's sad.
Not the way that mass shootings are happening.
I'm not talking about mass shootings.
But you said
I'm not talking about, I'm talking about a shooting, like somebody coming. The sister just talked about domestic violence and stuff against black women. We just flew right over that shit because that would mean accountability. My thing is, you can talk about the general. That's great. ABC and shit is probably hiring. But what I know to be true, when black people, you become dangerous when you start doing your own goddamn work. That's when you become dangerous. And I learned that from history. They never fuck with people who are integrationists. They love you to be, but when you start doing, go back and look at your history, where people started focusing on themselves, when black people started having their own shit, it became a problem. And mainly from other Negroes. Oh, goddamn, I'm so sure. They talked about how Du Bois and the dude from the car porters worked with the FBI against Marcus Garvey and getting him deported. But see, we don't want to talk about that because that's that black on black crime we don't want to talk about. When they cahooted with our government to get rid of a black man that was telling black people, up you mighty nation, accomplish what you will. There's a black man who was teaching black people how to be accountable in their own goddamn community. They became a threat, not just to white people, but to niggas who make a whole industry out of keeping black people focused on white people instead of themselves. But that's just me.
Yeah, we got to do our work.
That's a problem.
When I spoke on earlier about us having the luxury of doing that, do you feel like, so when because it just made me think about it again as you were speaking, do you feel like, again, in order to analyze, look at, improve certain behaviors, certain patterns, to question thinking, in order to do that there is a certain luxury that a person has to do that?
No.
Yeah, so, break that down.
Yeah,
when you
I think luxury, I don't really get that. Yeah,
right.
Because what I'm saying is that when people are in a survival state, when you are in like us, so as black people, if we are in a survival state, right? There's a notion of the what is it called? The cultivation of poverty, or it's something along those lines. Mm-hmm. But basically, there was like this study that was saying that, like, oh, all these white people studied all the poor people, which probably was black people. And then they came back from saying that, or viewing that, or their observation, the research that they wrote said that poor people, basically, they want to be poor. They don't plan to get themselves out. They don't analyze what they're doing so that they can stop having to repeat the same cycles. Like, they're doing this and they're fine with where they're at. They don't have really any, and maybe that goes back to why some people think that homeless people, they okay with it. You know what I mean? But there was this understanding, the culture, I think it was called the culture of poverty. And y'all can Google it, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's the culture of poverty, that they don't want to be better. They don't want nothing else better. And then years go by, decades go by, black people get an education, black people study other research, and then there was a turn of that same information that said, you guys are interpreting this wrong. When you are in a state of survival, I don't have the luxury of planning how I'm going to get out of debt in 6 months when my grandmama needed medication yesterday. When I needed a day off 2 weeks ago. Like, you know what I mean? Where I'm stressed. I don't got my medication.
You think about Harriet Tubman.
And so what I'm...
go.
So what I'm saying is having the luxury of analyzing your behavior, of thinking of planning how you will escape the cycle that you are in. If I am stressed and I'm working 2 jobs and I'm raising 3 kids and this one getting in trouble at school, and you know what I'm saying? How do I have the luxury to sit back and map out and visualize all of this stuff? So what I'm saying is that, do you think that there is a certain luxury that a mother... that a person has to have.
You sound like me, girl.
That someone has to have. You have to have that opportunity to be at peace, to meditate, to clear your mind, and to move forward. If you don't have that luxury, and if you are in a state of survival, it's not that I'm just choosing to live in this survival state. I'm not choosing that. I don't have an option until I get a second to take a breather. So what I'm saying is as we criticize our other individuals and who haven't developed or advanced the way that we would like them to because they are not thinking about the action and how they're impacting, a lot of times people just don't have that luxury of being like, well, I didn't realize how I was contributing to my own demise. So they don't realize that.
I want to answer that. Let me tell you why. I have to say this. I, like a lot of other black people, come from a people who were maids and butlers, not your last name, but they were butlers.
I think I might be a butler. That's how we got last names, right? I don't know. Maybe I was. I didn't get my ancestry.
I was being silly when I said butler, but who are domestics or whatever, and they always had a way of saving money. I know so many people who their grandmother saved stuff, their mama saved stuff. I think those people kind of move up and away from people who can't. Like, I live here. I would love to live amongst my people, but if they're not progressing, I'm not going to carry the race by myself. I think some of us don't want to have the luxury because we have a luxury of getting them concert tickets. We have a luxury of doing all kinds of shit that depreciates as soon as we buy the shit and walk out the store with it. But I know, like me, like a lot of we came from people who do that, and I still do that now. I still figure out how to. I know how to take a moment. The only time I seen people.
Let's go back to that pedicure, y'all.
Yeah, no, but also I watch people go to prison where you feel like you're in survival mode all the time in prison, and they come out of prison brilliant because they take advantage of the education and everything else. And what I'm saying is, I think white people always have this way. And I'm gonna pull white people just for a minute because you talked about the study. Mm-hmm. These people, they always have a way of getting us to believe what they think is to be true about us, and then we believe the narrative. I know so many black people who come from horrific circumstances and have changed their whole environment because they made some sacrifices and was like, I watched my grandmama do it, I can do it. Because it's not really about how I feel right now. It's about what's going to happen with my kids and their kids and their kids. Some of us do it and some of us don't. So I think it's like some people do, some people don't. Mm-hmm. I come from a tradition of struggle and of sacrifice. And so for me, I know that the answer for me is sacrifice because I want to make sure I'm clearing the path. I don't want to lay down all. I believe in wealth, not riches. I believe I want to leave something for my descendants. I don't have any birth children. I have nieces and nephews that I adore, that I'm always leaving stuff for. When somebody is born in our family, I go get the little saving bonds. That's what I do. That's my job. I think that's why I don't have any children. My job is to make sure I'm securing space so that we get to have more options. And whatever you do with the options is your business. But I did that for damn near all my nieces and nephews, making sure that they start off with much more than I had. But my mother gave me those moral compasses that helped me to be where I am. I often tell people, if I didn't have these black women, particularly most of them were women, and I had a few men like Mark Stanley, who really molded me to be responsible for people's children who are not even mine because we're so connected. I cannot, look, last week I did this class. It was a favor. I'm going to be doing it every other week with a bunch of fourth graders and fifth graders, all black girls. We sat in there and had a conversation about some shit that I was so uncomfortable with. I started to have it with them, but I was also trying to get them to see the overall how you get to like kind of turn it off. But that's because we had a conversation around the basketball wives. That's all. These are fourth and fifth grade. I was like, the hell y'all doing basketball? It was about colorism. It was a little. I had to call April black girl.
They had a follow-up conversation about that.
Yeah, but the kids they were just talking. But they were talking about how it is amongst them. These are fourth and fifth graders. So we're talking 10 and 9. So I was just like, shit.
Oh no, a kid in second grade called my daughter disintegrated bacon.
Oh shit. So anyway, I'm just saying. But what I'm saying to you, and I'm with you. But I felt like if I had to stop it. Listen. What I'm saying, if I had felt like, do I have the luxury to be doing this for kids? It's like, no, that's our obligation. For me, I come from people, that's your obligation to do that. I think saving a little bit. Don't forget, we come from the people who built this country
Remember we talked about more month than money, though? There are people who have more.
Yeah, but we have always had more month than money. If your mama was a maid and she got paid, I don't know, $200 every 2 weeks, I've known people who did that. We ate off of $40 for a month. My mom was the queen of stretching it for her 6 children. But you know what? People didn't know we was poor. Hell, we didn't know we were poor. So my thing is like,
understand that.
Yeah, but hey, I come from people
amazing.
like that. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like, even when I get to points, it's like, Londa, let's quit acting like you really about that life. You'll put some goddamn beans on the stove with some soup and some
Soak
shit like
them
that.
for 2 hours
Yeah,
first, but yeah.
I hate beans, and I really don't eat them. But
Soak the beans for 2
yeah,
hours?
I hate beans.
You gotta
Yeah.
wait that long
But
to eat?
yeah.
Okay,
So,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
No,
you
no,
don't
no, I'm
make
with you.
beans, huh?
Don't worry about it. I don't either.
This-
Can
I don't either. I don't either.
Ugh.
I can't stand beans. We ate them so much when I was little. I just really hate beans. I think I have a mental block to beans.
Like beans, like
Black eyed peas,
black
peas, llama beans,
lima
what's the
beans.
other damn
Like
beans?
pinto
red
beans, black
Pinto beans, black beans, all of that. I
Great
can't
Northern
stand beans.
beans.
I can't stand beans.
Is it because they're cheap and
Yeah.
Well,
you
they
can
stretch.
buy that they're large
You can
amounts
stretch
of
it.
it,
You
and
can
then
stretch
it's
it.
like rice.
Rice
I was
and
gonna say
cornbread.
like rice.
Rice and
Okay.
cornbread.
You gotta have
Right, hold on.
cornbread with
You
the
make
butter
rice
in
and
and make it in a
cornbread?
cast iron skillet.
Hold on, wait. You eating rice with cornbread?
Yeah, because you're trying to keep your kids' belly full. See, that's that poor shit. I'm not trying to be funny.
No. I'm.
Or you could get you some turkey now.
Listen, hold
No,
on.
that's just poor shit. I'm just saying.
Hold on, this
I
is-
ain't mad
you
at
You
you.
probably don't know nothing
I
about
don't know.
that.
I don't
You
know,
know?
but y'all making me excited right now because my cousin Deshaun posted this the other day, and then this morning I want to say, and I looked at it, I said, Deshaun, what the hell is this? And because and there was a bunch of comments and people was like, oh, that was good. I made some last night, and I'm like, what are y'all talking about? So it was a can, and the caption on the meme said, "You rich people don't know nothing about this." And then my cousin commented, and he said, I want somebody to make this for me. Who can make this? And then I'm looking at this
What was
picture.
it?
I don't know.
Was
It's
it
a
spam?
can. It's a can of something. It says something cute. Something cute. And then it said salmon or something. He said it's salmon.
Oh, salmon crow
Yes,
crabs.
or it could be mackerel cold crabs too, because mackerel
Yeah,
crab
that
can too.
is the
Or it
snip.
could be corned beef.
It's
and
salmon
Yes.
in a can. It's salmon
That
in a
is
can.
divine.
Yes, but
You
mackerels
never
come
had
in a
them?
can too.
Y'all didn't eat those?
I ate mackerel because we get the force salmon, so we ate mackerel, which is the
Well,
cheapest
yeah,
fish.
mackerel, jack mackerel.
But that's
you know,
not-
I
yeah,
know
yeah,
jack
but that's- it
mackerel.
tastes like
some
salmon.
onions and some
Yeah.
garlic and some bell pepper, girl.
So no, I get what you said.
Or make it into a gravy over grits.
Can you make some and bring it?
gravy over grits.
Yeah, girl,
She
don't
over
play
here
with
gravy,
me. Don't play with me.
Gravy over grits?
It's
And you over here talking about rice and cornbread
is
together?
Rice and cornbread. With
I ain't
beans,
never
that's
ate
the
that,
bean.
y'all.
We used to stew tomatoes, girl, and you thinking you really eating something popping, but
So
it would be
while we
good,
talking
yeah.
about food, how y'all feel that E40 became a co-owner of a Filipino food company?
Get your money, E40.
Yeah, diversify.
Y'all ever drink his wine?
Your
Earl Stevens?
portfolio,
That one?
literally.
I don't know. Yeah, because I don't really.
Girl,
So what?
that Earl Stevens be hitting.
What is it?
The doctor said you showing your age.
I'm sorry, I never knew about that.
But
stuff.
you know about that E40 though.
I sure do know about that Earl Stevens.
But what is it? What
It's
is
a
it?
wine. I'm gonna bring it to y'all next Sunday. It's a wine. It's called Earl Stevens. That's his name.
Well, no,
You
bring
put
it
it
the
in
next
Earl
Sunday.
Stevens?
Don't bring it
Yes.
this Sunday. Bring it
See,
the
now
next
you showing
Yeah, no, I know he went to the store
E40.
back college.
Yeah,
He does.
his name
I'm
is
definitely
Earl
gonna bring out
Stevens.
some salmon
And
grits.
please bring that because I really
But I'm
wanna
not
taste
coming
it.
next Sunday, so don't bring the wine.
Yeah.
Do it the next
Yeah,
Sunday.
you gotta bring it this so we can all get it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
you're right,
so I'll
you're right.
bring
We'll mix with the
salmon
old
grits, you
school
bring the
with
one.
the new
Yeah.
school. How about that?
Okay.
Amen.
On the drink. Okay, y'all,
Okay.
but here's an article that's basically saying that, and I think we talked about this earlier. Hold on, this thing just is kind of doing what the hell he wants to do. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. So I really wanted to, I think I just deleted something. Damn it, I did that.
Yeah, so
What you
your
talking
screen jumping too?
Yeah, no, I deleted something I ain't want to delete.
Oh.
Did y'all know that October is a Black Fine Arts Month?
I didn't know that.
At least in Chicago.
October is a who or what?
Black
Black
Fine Arts Month.
No.
That's in Chicago though, but I mean, they have lots of museums. and
Montez
songs.
wanted to
that's
comment
cool.
and said that he agreed with you. I just wanted to clarify exactly what he agreed with, or who he was agreeing with, I should say.
Okay.
And he just said, as an older black man, 36, that is my obligation to reach down to people younger than me to give them game.
Right
So
on.
as you were talking about, it's not really about the luxury.
Jay-Z.
You have to find the time. You have to put yourself out there, and you have to feel a sense of obligation. And it's not that I don't think that.
Lajana say she want. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's not that I don't think that everybody just doesn't have a sense of obligation. I just think that some people are in such a state of devastation and, again, desperation that they're living in survival that they just don't have that within them to give back, if that makes sense.
I get
And
that.
I think that something, whether it's burnout, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's just you trying to stay afloat, you know what I mean? As much as you want to maybe give back or wish that you could teach somebody because you see them
I
going
agree.
in the same path, but
Yeah.
you're just like, I just ain't got it in me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To extend that that knowledge or that wisdom, or maybe they see themselves like, oh, I didn't listen to nobody either. You know what I mean? How people
That's
be
what's
like,
up.
they got to figure it out, they got to learn on their own. Like, you know, so I feel like sometimes that's how it is in terms of trying to lead people. But at the same time, in terms of just giving them nuggets, planting them seeds, I think that is everybody's obligation. Because another African proverb, you don't eat the same day you plant. So
right on. I like that. I like that.
I
like that a lot.
I also think that some people just have an assignment on their life. Some people have certain assignments. Right. I believe that some people have certain assignments, and so while I get what you're saying, some people they don't even feel complete unless they're doing a certain thing that they were born to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where you ain't had a lot of money.
Their social
but you donated to this, or you bought a kid's chocolate bar, and you like, I needed that $5, but I figured out the Lord of make a way.
Yeah.
So I hear
also say too. I just know for myself, and I'm just saying, so I want to be clear. I remember black folks being so giving when I was being raised. Like, I remember them buying you things that had meaning to it. Some stuff I still have. Like, and them, like, used to give people banks and then, like, or put $1 in the bank every day, pay yourself first. I mean, even if they didn't have a lot of money to give you, they gave you nuggets on how to save. I used to be amazed when I was younger how my mom, blessed in memory, I had a good-ass job, but I could never save no money. And my mom, I would go borrow money from my mom, who was on fixed income because she retired. And she would go to her Bible and she would have, like, give me $100. I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, how the hell you got $100? And I have a good ass, I make more than you ever made probably your whole career. And I'm borrowing money. So even though she was, we grew up poor, my mother knew how to stretch that dollar and save that money for days. She knew that will come, she could still pay for certain things. Like, I just,
my grandpa said that when he, at his birthday, just last month, he sat around and he said, and my grandpa, the one thing he told me that he wished that he could have become was an attorney. He's 84, from Arkansas, born and raised, picked cotton, the whole thing, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he was like, that's one thing I wish I would have done, but he got married at like 20. I got a wife, I got responsibilities I have to provide, and they had all 3 of their kids grown before they was 40, you know what I mean? That's the type of lifestyle that they had. Right. So it wasn't really in the cards for him, but he said when my daughter, and all 3 of his kids are college educated, all professionals, he helped them get through school. He helped them buy their first homes. And it's like, how you helping me buy my house?
That's my point.
And you was working as a postman, or you was working as but my grandpa literally said, I put myself in position to always have that. And my grandpa has always told me to pay myself first. He said, I don't care if it's $25, if it's $5, if it's $100 that you could do. You always pay yourself because you got to look out for you, and you just got to manage on more monthly money. That's just what it is. So I hear you because I do feel like that is a certain, I don't know if that died along the way, or if people just got comfortable because they started making more. Like how you said, you started making more money. So you like, as long as they printed money, I'm going to make it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's just kind of how sometimes the mentality is.
You're right on that.
I mean, you do got to save. You do have to save.
So let me ask y'all this. George Clinton is to be inducted into the Grammys Lifetime Achievement Award. What y'all think about that? Here's a man who brought the funk. I've been to the African American Smithsonian. I've seen that, the mothership and all that. But y'all think they be honoring people because they ran out of people? Because he should have been got his. George Clinton. The funk. The dog in me and all the... you listen to hip hop, all that damn sampling, some of that stuff is him.
I remember seeing that man's face. Yeah. And I know I'm showing my age again. I remember seeing his face. And
he have a whole bunch of stuff.
Good Burger. Now I know y'all gonna be like,
that's what's
but
up.
that's when I remember seeing him. He was in Good Burger when they was all dancing his crazy house.
Good Burger, they get the Good Burger.
Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? Yeah, Keenan and Kel. That was when I seen him. But I mean, I guess it's probably overdue. I mean, they still for everybody.
Something else real quick. What about you, Dana? What you think about George Clinton being inducted to the Grammy Lifetime Hall of Fame?
I think that's dope. I mean, George Clinton. Yeah, he used to bring the funk.
He did. His story is so he was on drugs, but he just did some brilliancy.
But it seems like this is gonna sound crazy. Marvin Gaye, Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix. I don't know. I like the way Jimi Hendrix used to pull them strings, but they would say he would be highest.
So now I guess you open different floodgates. I mean, in your brain, I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't know.
But what do y'all think about BET Awards giving Lil' Kim an award? Do y'all think?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, she performed too.
What's Lil' Kim doing? She's still making music.
She getting a bunch of plastic surgery. I'm so sick of her.
But does she
sick of
actually
Little Kim.
have music out?
No, she got TV shows, Girls
She
Trip.
got a TV show?
Yes, I'm so sick of Lil Kim.
But wait a minute, do you
So
think
sick of her.
Do you think she deserves?
No, she don't deserve nothing. I don't even know what the question is. She don't deserve it. Like,
She got a BET award, and I guess they had slighted her. I guess it's like a lifetime achievement or something.
Well, maybe y'all know that y'all was liking some of that stuff.
My sister Khadijah love Lil Kim. Now I ain't gonna front. But I'm just.
you wouldn't recognize Little Kim if she walked in the door right now.
She do. She like a
I'm
little
trying
Asian.
to think.
She
What
like a little Asian lady.
She got all this fillers in her cheeks,
Yeah, she
and
look
her
kinda
nose is
disgusting.
gone. Michael Jackson gone, and her
Oh.
face is the color of my palms. Like she didn't bleach and she didn't did all this. She
like
just
a little
looks a
Asian lady.
mess. Her
Little
body
Asian.
looks a mess. Her face looks a mess. She sounds a mess. I'm just ready for her to just
You think she
disappear out the
deserves to have
spotlight.
a-
No, she don't deserve nothing but a makeover.
Damn.
Dang, I got
You said a whole bunch on that one.
I'm
I
just
can't even
sick
think
of her
it.
because she on VH1 right after Love and Hip Hop and all these other shows was coming on.
Wow.
She had a show called Girls Trip. It was Little Kim. It was this comedian who's on Instagram named what's her name?
She said, "What's her name is?"
I can't remember what her name is right now. But B, it started with a B. B Simone. She's on tour doing. She's a comedian. She Insta famous. So, anyways, B Simone was on there.
What does Simone look like?
She light skinned. She
I
got
think I saw
and
her.
she got a little slash in her eyebrows. I don't know why she do that, but maybe it's her signature. And then she got Kiwi on there. She got Maya. Remember Maya who was singing with the Rugrats? And yeah, she got Maya on there. I don't know. It's a bunch of has-beens or wannabes. And it's just, I don't know why. How did y'all even find each other to do this show, to have it called Girls Trip? And they really just had a whole reunion. I'm just over it. I'm just over Lil Kim. I just want her to disappear. I'm here for this Ellie and her reviving, but not Lil Kim.
Overdue. She deserves it.
Okay.
Okay, look, so Vanessa said something that's key. She is saying your grandfather's generation is the same generation my parents came from. They did not run out and buy a Benz. They bought up with their money. They bought good old Buicks and ate at our means. They did not live outside or beyond their means. I agree with you. Because they were sacrificers. They did stuff for the good, of the family. I get that. They did buy Buicks. That's when American made good cars. And they did save, and they did,
and
they
didn't
cooked
spend every day.
Yeah, they didn't spend beyond their means. Honest God, they probably had less illnesses
and
too.
Sonia I wanted to mention her comment on that too, because she said that she doesn't feel like the older generation has taught the younger generation how to stretch a dollar. You know what I mean? Like, because and given we have to consider inflation, we have to consider, when my grandpa would be like, oh, what I could. He told me that because I do a legacy video I'm doing for my grandfather, so I sit down and I interview him, like kind of like Oprah did with Masterclass and stuff like that, and I just sit and I talk to him, and he told me that to buy a house in like 19. He said 1930, but 1938, 36, 38, one of the two he was born in, and he said that to buy a house during that time, it wasn't no more than $3,000.
I can believe that.
And I said, I had to Google it, and he was right, y'all. Yeah. It was like $2,300 to buy a whole house. Now it's $230,000 to live in Oak Park. You know what I mean?
That's not even rent.
It's not even like I'm trying to get a house and I gotta get approved for over $250,000 just to put a roof over me and my child's head. But my grandpa was like, it was only 23. But given at the same time, people might have only made $500 in the whole year.
Right.
So that $2,300 sounds just as unrealistic as $250,000 sound for me. Like, but you have to consider infiltration. You have to consider inflation.
That too.
Right. You have to consider inflation along with cost of living and everything that has, made everything skyrocket. But it is definitely a difference.
I definitely understand what Sonia's saying. Some of us didn't teach our kids that. But I will also say, even in the generations, I think the generation after what they call the greatest generation, some of them had a chance to be at certain tables and had certain jobs, and they kind of didn't think they needed to save. I remember having an elder tell me, she's an elder to me, that she didn't have a china cabinet like her mom, because she said she never seen her mom use any of that pretty china, and when she died, you can't take it with her. She said so she used it all. you know, she said, I didn't have no special china cabinet or whatever.
Yeah.
But I also think there are some things our elders did that was great. There was some things we probably can't do, but I do think we missed the mark on building for generations. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think, no, I'm not going to have a china cabinet with glasses that I never use. I'm not going to do that shit. However, I do know that I need to have some savings accounts and make sure my nieces and nephews have the same thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember during weddings, we didn't go to no damn caterer. When people got married, old school in my family, all the women got together and did all the cooking. So we didn't pay no goddamn caterer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We got married. No, I'm just serious. We didn't
That
pay a
food be nasty.
Oh no, our family can
no.
cook.
Families be no. I'm saying like my family Thanksgivings, like people in Thomas Side and Butler. I love y'all. Thank you so much because y'all been feeding me my whole life. But but I'm saying certain people, they don't know how to
cook.
They don't,
I get that.
No, I'm saying they don't know how to cook for the mass amount. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know how to make it, but when you're making it for a lot of people, you're like, this bland, it's missing, you know, because they don't know how to make it for such a large group. So I wasn't saying, like, it's just nasty in general. I'm saying sometimes people don't know how to, like, okay, this is my recipe, now let me times this by 6, or, you know what I mean? Like, what does that mean in terms of, so they don't know, so sometimes it's like, dang, you're normally good at this, but it's like, what happened, sis? Like,
you can't make it for the rest. I get that. That makes sense. That makes total sense.
So that's why I was just looking like that, like, everybody came because everybody
used to do that back in the day. When you got married, the family came together and everybody. Amen. You cooking this, you paying.
Were they expected for you to send me a bill?
No, we did. You're getting married.
That was my gift to you.
Gift.
No, I was just asking. That's like,
well, I don't think people did bring gifts.
Yeah, they brought gifts,
but they just don't have the obligation.
Because that's a family thing. You're bringing somebody to our family. You're going off to somebody.
And now I gotta pay $75, $125 a head, a plate when you're getting catered. Like I said, everything costs more as a wedding.
But my thing is, that's what it meant to be in family.
Yeah.
That's what give me because I remember those family pieces. Even though we had one cousin with a big ass wedding, they was married for like 30 days.
No,
so you better reimburse.
You have to pay me back now because I have to do a lot to make all that damn macaroni.
Yeah,
30 for you to be married for a month.
So, question, y'all, in Memphis, they are having historical markings to document lynchings that happened in Memphis. Do you think other states should do that as well? To document, you know, they have the markers like. This is like Ida B. Wells had a marker for the Ida B. Wells house, you know, that she lived, which is incredible in Chicago. But now I'm starting to see, and particularly sometimes in some southern states, they'll have a picture like this person was lynched here. You know, all over. Do you think other states should follow and do stuff like that?
Again, I think that comes back to the question that we had earlier in regards to how are we normalizing the deaths of Black people? If we're constantly being reminded. I mean, some people could see that as a trigger, you know what I mean? And like, dang, everywhere I look, it was someone who was hanging from strange fruit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everywhere I look, compared to some people feeling that they are paying homage and, you know, honoring these lives who maybe didn't ever get any justice or didn't get any recognition. I think it just depends on the perspective.
Right on.
I think that, again, they're hard conversations to have because if I was walking down the street with my daughter and there was some sign that said, and she's like, Mom, what's lynch? You know what I mean? Or what's a lynching? Or what was, you know, that's a conversation that you like, dang, I wasn't expecting to have it. We were just walking to the store. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, that's a reality. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on the perspective. I don't know if it's a right or wrong thing. I think that if those people feel like they need to bring awareness and honor those lives, then absolutely do that. And if that makes other people uncomfortable and you don't want to talk about that history, you don't want to talk about that past, then make sure it don't happen again.
For me, and maybe I'm crazy, y'all.
You crazy anyway.
Yeah, but for me, I think remembering keeps me grounded. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I think remembering.
And don't keep you stuck, because that's what some people say.
It don't keep me stuck. It keep me knowing that we got work to do in our community. So it doesn't keep me. I don't know. It doesn't really keep me stuck. I'm not stuck back in that time, but remembering it does keep me grounded. I think it keeps me accountable and it keeps me responsible. It keeps me feeling like, okay, you know, yeah, I was going to say you don't get to be tired because, yeah, we do get to be tired, but it just reminds me like you got to keep pushing the movement, whatever that is, whatever your level of that is. So remembering is good.
Never forget type of.
Never forget, and then also to teach your children, because I'm gonna tell you, I've witnessed some ungratefulness. There's a lot of girl. No, I just think that remembering keep us grounded. For me, at least.
So this is our last comment. We're going to wrap up. Vanessa says they front on everything now. Big weddings are not paid off, and now they are divorcing. Disillusion thinking can hold us back. I've been to some weddings where they in debt like a motherfucker. They could have bought a house with that goddamn money, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, my wedding.
I think that's the best
$20,000
wedding
and
gift.
y'all gonna put me on the Bachelorette.
That's why we gonna put
My wedding is gonna cost
They gonna pay
quite
for that.
a pretty penny.
For real?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
ain't having no.
Right on. So y'all, thank you. This week we wrapping up. Thank y'all. We be back next week.
Peace and love.
Peace.
Thank you.
All right, peace, family.